should be live. It says going live. We're live. Okay, we are live.
Hello, live.
Hello, we are all live. Hello, fellow live. Okay. So, yeah, welcome everyone to the second installment of the OCE tier list stream. So this time we're gonna go over Marisa. We've got, as usual, or as per last time, Kookie, Stooge, and myself on the commentary team, or I guess commentary, yep. So yeah, do you guys know much about Marisa? I feel like in OC we might be a bit lacking in Marisa knowledge.
Honestly, I don't know much about Marisa. The only things I would be able to know are the things that Chef MKT used,
Okay,
and
yeah,
that's
true.
about it.
It's been
And he kind of...
been a while
Sorry, you were
that
saying?
It's been a while since we've seen him play. He shows up quite intermittently, but yeah, he does use some weird cards, so at least that's given us a bit of exposure to some of the less used cards.
And he's like a god at the mind games as well.
Yeah, he's quite a renowned player, even internationally, I think. So that'll be interesting to see. Okay. So in that case, let's get started. So let's start off with the skills or spells.
Let's
think
go
we
with
should
the
do-
skills.
Yeah, the skills, yeah.
Okay. Hold on, just 1 second. I
Yep.
need to adjust the volume a little. So, speakers, headphones, mix. So that's the one. Recording microphone raise. Okay. How's the microphone volume now, Giang? If you're watching the stream, if you could comment, that's good. I'll also lower Cookies a little since it sounds like I've got Cookie set a bit too loud.
My face could also be a bit too close to my mic.
That's fine. We'll just I'll just change the volume. You can stay as is. Okay. Seems good now. Cool. In that case,
Hooray.
we'll get started. So yeah. I guess we'll start with spells or skills. It's up to you guys.
I think we decided on skills.
Okay,
now.
skills first.
Yep.
And as a rule of thumb, we're gonna go. Do we want to look at it in a closed environment of Marisa, or do we want to look at it like from the perspective of the game as a whole? For example, like let's say, I don't know, Suako's spell cards are all quite poor. So if we were to rank it within Suako, her 4-cost Red Frog would be like S rank, when in reality it's more like B rank or something. Or
Yeah, I can see. Well, we'll see. I don't completely understand what you're trying to go by there, but I guess we can start off with the first card, and then we'll see what we say about both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've lowered my volume a little, and I'll raise Stooge's a little. Okay, yeah, keep us updated in the chat on our volume mixing. Okay, Stooge, can you just give like a test sentence or something so we can hear you?
Hello, testing, I'm Stooge.
Okay,
Hi,
hopefully
Stooge.
that's good. I've raised his volume a little, so we'll go with that. Okay, so we'll start with spells, and were we saying game as a whole or per character?
I think we'll see as we go along. So it's
Okay.
like we choose the first spell card, and it's
Yep.
like, oh, this is what it's like as a whole, and this is what it's like in a closed character. And then
Okay,
we pick which
okay.
one we prefer to look at.
That's a fine idea. Okay, so in that case, let's start off with the first one. We've got Meteor Sonic Debris, which is her 1-cost. So have you guys seen this one before?
Probably, but I've forgotten.
It's the one that sends a stream of stars out like her default 236.
I've seen her default 236.
Okay, so it's like a spell card version of that, which, well, it does a lot on block. It does like 1.5 or 1.6 orbs. Only in corner though, because in mid-screen it pushes them back. But it's really strong in corner pressure. It's airtight off 6C, and considering it's only 1 cost, if you time the spirit damage, if you time their orb count right, you can
crush.
you can get a perfect crush and do like a full optimal combo from there. So it's a very potent but situational 1-cost spell card, I think. It's
Yeah.
So it's a 1-cost that leads to a crush and a full combo if you can get it. That seems pretty strong.
It's kind of similar to Yuko's 1-cost in a sense, I guess. It's just that instead of it's making it something safe use, it's more the crush use of it.
I see.
Okay.
But it's also
it's
does more spirit damage than Yuko's.
Oh, that's interesting. So basically, this 1-cost is more heavily minus on block, isn't it, than you use 1-cost?
Yeah, it's more situational, but it's better at that crush use, is how I'd put it.
I see. So in terms of making it safe, actually, I shouldn't even talk about making it safe.
Yeah, that's not one of its uses.
Yeah, why did I talk about that? Either way, in terms of like crushing and stuff, I feel like putting it at A or B would be a good start.
Yeah, I mean, for a one, if we look at it through the lens of the 1-cost, it's like, I would say it's actually one of the better ones, considering you can get like 2.5k or something off the crush if you time it right. And it's actually pretty easy to get that perfect crush range because if you get one wrong block, one 5C and one 6C, and you cancel the 6C into it, you get the perfect crush. So it's actually a pretty good synergy with Marisa's bullet kit, and it's also helped by 6C being unbeatable until the end, so you can just go into the spell, and it's like a checkmate basically.
Damn.
So I mean, I'm happy to put this into like it's corner only, and it loses to Hangeki. So I don't know, it's pretty potent. I'll put it at high B for now if we're happy with that.
Yeah, and then we'll probably move it up a little bit as we go along, maybe.
Do we have Chef appeared?
Oh yes,
We'll
there's Chef.
see if we can get him in.
The Marisa main.
Um,
The one Marisa main.
the one Marisa
Here he
main.
is, here he is.
Hello, Chef. Oh, I think you're muted or your mic's not working.
Don't know, actually.
So, not hearing anything from Chef at the moment. We'll see if he can. Oh, there it is.
Oh, hello.
I saw movement.
Yeah, I saw a bit of life.
Surprise!
Hey,
Hello,
Oh,
Chef.
there you go.
What a powerful surprise. Okay, so yeah, we just got started, Chef. We just put Meteor, I think Meteor Sonic Debris in B tier as it's got strong corner crush use. Do you think that's a fine placement in your view, or
I
know
agree
you?
with that because it's
Yeah.
a 1-cost, it's a very
Yeah.
low resource use, but
Mhm.
it does quite a bit.
Okay, yeah.
For the
So
cost.
yeah, we'll go with B tier for now. And those of you who don't know, Chef is actually a fairly known name even in the international Discord. The ancient Marisa player known for using mysterious cards and using esoteric techniques. If you actually look his name up on YouTube, there's many videos of him doing funny things with Marisa, so you can check that out. But that's some background. He's probably the most qualified Marisa main in OCE at the moment. So yeah,
Agreed.
moving on with this great surprise guest. Next we've got a Stardust Reverie, so a Reverie. This is a card that's pretty uncommon. Chef, I know you've used this before in matches. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, the one use that it does have, it has graze for the duration of it, from what I recall. So you can snipe people from across the screen
Yep.
and catch them trying to hijack to bullet cancel.
Right.
But outside of that, for combo damage, it's not that great. For a 2-cost, a little bit expensive.
It's Stooge, can you confirm on the wiki if it's frame 1 graze?
It's bullet invincible for the entire duration, apparently.
From frame 1?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
It's
okay.
completely invincible on frames 7 to 10.
That's probably hard to use, but that's something.
Yeah, I don't know how you get that used, but
So okay, I mean, it sounds like it's basically her 623C, but horizontal in that sense. I do know that it being air usable probably gives you a bit more opportunity to use that graze than the grounded 623. I know that it also, I mean, you can use it to finish people off in Typhoon, as I'm pretty sure it locks them in place.
Correct.
So there's another use for it. I mean, it's got uses, but I would say it's definitely a lot more niche than the one cost that we've put in B. So
You use it during air pressure to escape air pressure.
yeah, you can use it as a graze out in air pressure. That's true, and you travel all the way to the other side of the screen. But I think you bounce off the edge. So
Yes, you bounce off the side of the screen.
Yeah,
and that
so
you're
it's
really vulnerable. to
pretty
being punished for
dangerous. So you're the only way it would be like a graze attack that you're hoping would hit them. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Okay, I mean, I'd put it in C. Like, you know, I think the usage of it speaks for itself. It's very niche, not often run. It has its uses, and the graze on frame one's a nice touch, but I think it's not really an important card to a kid. I've seen a Marisa run it in Japan recently, though.
It's not completely useless, but
Hmm.
the problem is that it's competing with the other two costs.
Yeah,
which is coming
that's
up
right.
next.
That's right. Also, hello, Tensoku dude. That's true. You do play Marisa among a few other players, but Chef is definitely a veteran player.
I mean,
Okay.
you could join if you want. Would that be a good idea?
Probably not at this stage because we have 5 people in comms.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. Okay. So next we've got Luminous Strikes. So I'm sure all of us have at least seen this card being used in matches.
Definitely.
Extremely versatile card. I mean, off the top of my head, you can use it to limit certain combos in mid-screen, like J6A hits. You can make 2-1-4 safe, which is her kind of escape catch melee. You can use it to guard crush off 6C, and you can even use it as a kind of, not really, but snipe at mid-range. I know Chef used to do that a lot. So yeah,
Still do.
what are our thoughts on this one in terms of tiering and any other uses that might exist?
Well, it's got apparently a single frame of invincibility on frame 17,
Maybe
which is
if
why-
you're really good, you might be able to avoid something with that.
avoid a
That's
one
actually
frame.
pretty useful.
I mean, the
Other useful
recoil.
thing
Yep.
is that you do ride on your broom for a little bit during the startup, so you can dodge some low attacks.
Oh, that's like her 2-1-4. That's right.
Yes,
You
it
can-
doesn't make her airborne though, so things like earthquakes will still hit.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting caveat. So Catfish and Tenshi Quake will not be avoided by, but things like Sakuya 6A sounds like you can use it as a reversal against those.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I mean, on top of all the lists, all the uses I've listed earlier, and that one, I'd say it's I mean, I think most Marisas and even non-Marisas would agree it seems pretty integral to her kit. And it's also not just through necessity, but through its own strength. It's really good at everything it does. It does over 1 orb on block, I think. Airtight of 6C, airtight of 2-1-4, airtight of dash C. Not only does it make you safe, it can even crush. So
Do you suggest putting it in S or A tier?
I would put it at S.
I put
Oh,
that S as
damn.
well.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'd go with this.
Yep. That's a pretty good. Okay, we're all in agreement with that one, so we'll put it at S. It's definitely good.
For a 2 cost, it's amazing for what it
Yeah,
does.
yeah, it's only 2 costs as well, so it does everything for 2 cards, which is really good. The only caveat is that it doesn't get a knockdown unless it limits. So, I mean, it won't get you Oki, like, for example, some of the later cards we'll mention when using crushes, but still, for only 2 cards, that's probably asking for a bit too much. Okay. So, and Brooklyn says they're completely useless is rare, even with the most niche cards. That's true. I'm having trouble thinking of something completely useless. But anyway, next up is my own pet card that I like a lot, as another player has said before, Orrery's Sun. So I feel like this might be a bit of a divisive one. What are our thoughts? I guess Chef, have you used this one much before?
I've used it quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I know you actually even used it for the 2 times use before. I remember seeing that. What are your thoughts on it?
The neutral game that you get from having this activated is insane.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's not as good as someone say like Oku's.
Right.
Card,
Yeah.
but it's still really, really strong.
It's definitely gives you, as long as you have the room to get it out, it's not gonna like deflect their approach or anything like, for example, Utsu's Visor card. But it's if you do manage to get it out, so you'll either use it at really far range or after a knockdown, you're gonna have complete dominance of neutral. There's no character I think that can really outdo you when it's up. But the only thing is your pressure takes a bit of a hit when it's up. So if you do catch them, you're not going to be able to guard crush them or threaten them like normal Marisa pressure because your 5C's gone. That's my kind of experience with it. But a nice touch is that it's the 5C that you fire during it does chip damage. So even if they block and your pressure doesn't crush them, you're still doing some damage to them. And in neutral, of course, you can also act alongside your lasers being fired, so you can still do like a melee bullet combination, which is not too much they can do about it because the coverage is so big. Otherwise, I think in Typhoon, this is a really scary card. Kookie, have you faced it in Typhoon before?
What even is the card?
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it looks like.
So it's a card that makes, well, Skittles appear around Marisa, rainbow-colored orbs, and they make her B bullets fire this kind of Gatling gun out of the orbs, and the C version, which is what you'll see a lot more, just makes all 4 of them fire lasers at once, which kind of spread out and cover almost the entire screen.
That's giving me like patchy 5 cost vibes.
Yeah, it's a bit similar to Philosopher's Stone. Obviously, it doesn't last as long, and it gets rid of Marisa's own bullets when you do it, so it's not like Patchouli's, which is a straight upgrade. But it's got its uses. It's got more than its uses. The bullets alone are enough to kind of help Marisa's neutral a lot. Like, the opponent basically has to run.
Do you think that is similar to Patchouli Philosopher's Stone?
I mean, it's similar in what it results in. The opponent has to run. But the thing with Philosopher's Stone is if they block you, they also get crushed really quickly. So I think there's a bit of a distinction between the two. Marisa's is stronger in Typhoon, though, I can say that. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty uncommon card. I personally like running it, but I'm not sure what everyone else thinks about it.
Tensoku dude in chat believes a demonstration is required.
Yep, okay, I've just in time, I've got the game screen up. So
Perfect timing.
Here's
apparently you can double cast it.
Yes, that's right.
Is that any good? Or?
Not really.
not good in this game. It was insane in Meteor this entire.
Well, in 7.5, that was its only use, right? It didn't have the.
No, you could make the Skittles do something else where it makes the bullets rotate around Marisa for the duration.
Oh, okay, that sounds really strong, actually.
It's pretty strong, but it's not as good as the other one.
Okay.
Where you send it off.
Yeah. So here's the laser attack. As you can see, Marisa can act freely during it, and it's incredibly wide, and because Marisa's fast, it's really hard for the opponent to avoid it. And if you want little bullet cover, you can also fire the B version like this. But in pressure, it's not as strong as her 5C.
I see. Klempf, now that you're showing me this, I think I've seen it like once or twice against
It's pretty
maybe
uncommon,
some
yeah.
overseas Marisa players.
Right.
And to be honest, you mentioned that those orbs look like
Wait,
Skittles.
what? It doesn't cost spirit?
What?
I didn't know that.
Oh no, sorry. This is
That's practice mode, I think.
This is all the.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll turn off all those options. So.
I was terrified for a second.
Yeah, it does cost 1 orb to fire, of course, but yeah. And here's the second use. It's not really that strong, so you probably won't see it much, but it does hit stop lock. So, oh, sorry, they got hit. But it basically, if you catch them with it at low air, it's a guaranteed AUB punish, which is something.
I see. And also, Clemf, you made mention that those were Skittles, right?
Yep,
To
that's what they're
me-
called usually.
Yeah, to me those look like M&Ms.
Okay, well, I was thinking roughly the same thing actually, but
Yeah.
they're
Well, the
known
thing
as
is
the
that
Skittles.
it was a terminology from the IAMP days, and the reason why it was Skittles instead of M&S is because it tastes the rainbow.
Oh, I see.
Better tagline.
Oh, I see.
They were quite strong in that game, I guess. So yeah, what were you thinking regarding the placement of that card? It's got its uses, but it doesn't really snowball like in pressure. It's more, it's like if you get a knockdown, it's like you give up the Oki to release them in neutral, but then you do very well in that neutral.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
maybe you
caveat
could-
I can think of. Yeah.
So maybe you could put it like at B or something, because it is useful in Typhoon, but I mean...
Yeah, in Typhoon it's really strong. Like I would say, it's for only 2 cards. It's arguably cost-wise the best Typhoon weapon you can get.
Yeah,
I
but
disagree
you
with
have to
that.
make sure
Okay.
it's Typhoon, though.
That's true. I'll put it at low B for now, and we'll see if it falls down to C, because I'm thinking of it against Stardust Reverie, and they might be fairly similar in terms of
I personally
strength.
would put it in C myself, but we
Okay.
can go with low B for now.
Yeah, we'll go with low B and C. So next up is a extremely iconic spell.
That classic.
I think anyone who's played Touhou or even heard of Touhou probably knows what Master Spark is. Marisa's signature bomb in the mainline series, and well, signature move in this game as well. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah,
Laser.
big laser. I'll put it on screen now actually. So I'm sure that pretty much everyone would see this card a lot. Most Marisas would run like 3 or 4 of this just because it's so versatile and so, you know, useful. I've even heard there's a strong Marisa in Japan who was claiming it's more like a 3.5 cost just due to how potent it was.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's definitely for a 3 cost incredibly strong. So for its uses, it's got the obvious combo use. It hits pretty hard in even the most standard combos. Dale Master Spark does a decent amount of damage and knocks down. You can do it off full screen 6C hits, which is really good synergy because the way 6C works is you want to hit them by surprise from full screen. This allows you to get big damage off that and knockdown.
3.5k, that's a lot.
It is a lot for a free card.
Yeah, that's right. And it also lets you, for example, if you get like a 3A hit from full screen, you can get the combo of that, which is nice. And even some bigger counter hit combos if you're in the air, though that might be getting a bit more advanced, but you can do like this into Master Spark for 4.3k. Okay, that's a lot. So yeah, not only that, it's also very useful in Marisa's pressure. It's airtight off her 6C at any range, so this laser attack. And it does about 1.1 orbs on block. So the idea is you want to get them to a low orb count, like maybe 2 orbs, and then make them block 6C, and then go into Master Spark, and you're basically guaranteed to get a guard break into a knockdown and some free damage. So yeah, that's probably its most iconic use. It's really hard to deal with when facing Marisa, since once you block 6C, your fate's sealed. So yeah, I would say this is like up there with her Luminous Strike. You probably won't see a Marisa not running this card. What are everyone else's thoughts on this one? I'm sure everyone's faced it a lot.
Oh yeah, you played against me.
Every time I've played against a Marisa, I've at least seen one Master Spark in their deck. I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
What about Master Spark as the round starts?
So,
I did not talk about that, but
it wasn't mentioned in the use cases earlier, but of course Master Spark is quite a fast attack, and it hits the entire screen horizontally at once. So if you catch them doing something, you can definitely hit them while they're not grazing as a pretty scary surprise attack. As a matter of fact, Chef that we've got as a guest here is probably the global top Marisa who'd use it like that, right?
Well, 2 useful facts is that you can combo Luminous Strike into Spark.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I did that to someone. And against you, if you recall, you can abuse the invulnerability frames on
That's
the
right.
Spark as well.
I still remember when I was hit by it when I was playing Yukari using her train card. The invincibility allows Marisa to avoid the train, among a lot of other moves, to hit the opponent out with like a reversal. It's not frame on though, so you need to be careful with the timing, but it's definitely possible. And then after I got hit by it, I ended up in a video. So
Oh, that's great.
it's a bit of a interesting memory then. But yeah, so I mean, very versatile card that hits hard, great pressure use. Also can't discount that it knocks down on hit, allowing Marisa to Oki off it unlike Luminous Strike, justifying that extra cost a bit, I think. So yeah, what are we thinking in regards to the placement of this one?
S.
S?
S.
Unquestionable S? Okay. Is it above or
Unanimous
below
decision.
Luminous? So this is the hard question, I think.
Oh no.
I guess it really depends on what skill card you run.
Right, okay. So what's your thoughts on the skill cards there? That's something interesting you've said there.
If you run default 2-1-4 the Brute Ride, I
Yep.
think Luminous would be higher. 'cause it
Right.
makes it safe.
Yep, it's got that use to make 2-4 safe, yep. Okay.
What if you run Upsweeper?
If you run Upsweep?
If that's the case, then you probably break Master Spark higher.
Well, I guess if you're running Upsweep, you probably wouldn't care about card tier too much. But that's an interesting point to make. So, I think, based on the fact that a majority of Marisas are probably running, or at least keeping default 2-1-4, I think based on Chef's comments there, it's probably gonna be tied or below Luminous Strike, at least on what we're deciding today. So, do we all think that's a good call?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Good call.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so if you're facing a Marisa who's known for doing risky things, be careful round start because you might get a Master Spark flying at you.
That's powerful.
Yep. Okay. So next up is Escape Velocity. So this one's definitely dropping off in popularity compared to Master Spark. You won't see this one run too often. In short, it's basically a decent damaging 3-cost reversal with average startup, good reach, which is nice, but a very punishable in block. Stooge, does it graze? You've got the wiki open, right?
It's completely
It should be full.
invincible.
Okay, okay. So
For the first 22 frames.
okay, so it does have something over her DP. So I was gonna say the reason why it's uncommon is that Marisa has a DP on her 623. So the need for an invincible spell, especially considering her DP hits pretty hard, is pretty diminished. But it does offer complete invincibility, unlike Marisa's 623, which is either melee invincible or grazing. So it's kind of a 2-in-1 in that sense. So
Can
yeah,
you use
yep.
Can you use Escape Velocity as a reversal since it's completely invincible?
Yes, that's its like I was saying with the DP, that's its kind of only real use that I can think of. You would use it against their attacks, whether it's a melee or a bullet, since it's complete invincible.
Yes.
And it's a melee in itself, so if they try to high jump, they'll just get caught by it. So it's a, fairly standard 3-cost reversal, I would say. What are your guys' thoughts?
Never seen it before.
Never seen it before, okay.
Oh, I haven't used it against you? That's weird. Okay.
Oh wait. Actually, yes.
Chef does
you
run it,
have,
I remember
Now that I
this,
think
yeah.
about it.
It looks like
And,
a 623 though, so.
I think Elder also runs it too.
Oh, that's right, the Korean Marisa player. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I personally wouldn't see much reason to run it if you're running the DP, just because they use.
I think that if the Marisa is fighting against a Sakuya, it's a good weapon against killing though.
Yeah, I was going
Yes.
to say the bullet invincibility means that it will be a. I don't think it would avoid it completely with 22 frames, but it would be a very favorable trade for the Marisa. And of course, the Sakuya wouldn't get a knockdown off it. So it's niche use there, but more broadly as well, having both melee and bullet invincibility on one is pretty useful. Makes it easy to use than her 623. Opponent's perspective, it's harder to bait. Yeah, so Chef, is there anything we're missing regarding this one?
In terms of viewing it in a vacuum, pretty much down everything. The one thing that has been brought up yet is that with a regular DP input, the opponent can't see it. With the reversal, the opponent can see it.
Ah, yes, that's
the threat.
Yep. So Chef's brought up a very important point for kind of spell cards that are invincible in general. In this game, because you can see what, I guess, spell card super attack the opponent has selected and ready to use at a button's press, there's a psychological threat of having the card at the top. So if for example, I was being pressured like this with the card on top, the opponent is, gonna be distracted by the fact that at one button press I could do this. So it might weaken their pressure. They'd be more inclined to be a bit cautious in order to bait it. While with the DP, not only is it a 623 input, so it's slower to come out, it also hits less hard and it's kind of less in their face since it's not at the top of your hand.
You could also like switch the card.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say we've got a Kookie. So in terms of mind games, you like to kind of play a mind game where you keep a reversal card at the back of your hand, and then you quickly cycle to it like that, and then you use it as a surprise.
Yeah. So you mentioned that it's not really the benefits that each provide end up becoming like equal. You know what I mean?
There's cases for just having it at the top, and there's cases for having it at the back to swap. It's both have their uses, but I think for the discussion we're having with Marisa right now, the main point is that being a spell card that hits reasonably hard in itself has a innate advantage over a 623 DP. So so even if you run the DP, there's a reason to run it, though it's a bit diminished. But I think it really shines when Marisa runs an alt 623. For example, Stellar Missile, she loses access to the DP. So it provides a pretty useful defensive option for her where her DP's gone.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I'd say that's a fairly common situation because Marisa's alt 623s, especially Bosky Sweeper, are very strong. So there's definitely good reason to use those over the DP. So yeah, what are we thinking regarding the placement of this one?
I'm not sure. Maybe high A or around the mid A.
I think that's a bit high.
Bit high.
I think high C, low B, maybe.
Yeah, it's... Well, I would say C's a bit harsh because there's nothing wrong with the card, but it's like... It's definitely diminished in its use severely if you're running default DP. That's probably what you're getting at, right, Chef?
Yes.
So, I mean, but I think the fact that it's reasonable that the player won't be running the DP fairly often, so I think that would put it in B rather than C.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I mentioned A tier because of my bias towards reversals.
Yeah, it's you definitely like DPs, that's for sure. So, okay, moving on, we've got a 3-cost Gravity Beat. So this one's an interesting one. Chef, could you introduce this one for us?
It's one of my personal favorite cards. Basically, what happens is that Marisa will spin a broom around at the startup, and then will launch a small projectile up, and then it'll come down on top of the opponent.
Consistent with Newton's one of Newton's laws. What goes up comes back down.
That's right. That's right. And an important thing to note is that the bullet has a hitbox on the way up. So you don't have to wait for the explosion at the end. You can very easily hit someone above you with the startup part. So,
and there's also a hitbox, if I recall correctly, around Marisa.
Let's see.
It's very active.
Oh, no, it spawns on her broom. So if we look at this footage here, slow things down a bit. It starts right on her, yeah. So it's kind of not around her, but it's definitely on her. So if they're next to you, it's going to hit them.
But you also saw that big square that lingered.
That's the explosion at the end. That's very active, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was referring to.
It just drops on them and it stays there for a bit. There's situations where if they're not careful with their graze, they'll be kind of caught in the blast. And if they get counter hit, it hits very hard.
Oh yeah, it's great.
So I mean, yeah, Chef, how would you use this card, I guess, in game?
Primary use for most Marisas is that it's going to be a good combo finisher because it doesn't limit until the last explosion occurs, which is where all the damage comes from.
Very potent combo starter. So off the top of my head, I know that it combos off anti-air, 4A, AUB hit into a limit, which is really good. It also combos, of course, of Dial A, like any other card she has almost. And I think one common and pretty important use is that if you get a J6A counter hit like this, and you input 5C after, which is a very common default follow-up, good on both block and hit, it will allow you to limit from anywhere. So that's a really good combo use for it. Also, it allows you to get some extra damage off her 623C if you're brave and want to commit to it early, like this. Oh, did it come out before? Oh, sorry, I'm running Busky. Okay, anyway.
623C.
Yeah, so it's got lots of kind of combo use. Or is there any other kind of use you've got in mind? Chef?
Yes, default 214 in the corner will combo into it.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. So I guess as a follow-up to a corner combo, like dash A into that, you can go into this for extra damage. Okay, that's pretty nice to know. So another property it has is that it grazes from frame 1.
Oh yeah.
So while it's not as potent as her escape velocity, the fact that it's got a faster startup, I think at 10 frames. Stooge, do you have that info?
Yeah, 13.
13.
For
Oh,
5
okay.
plus 8. I don't know what 5 plus 8 means.
That
I assume
means
that's
spell
13.
flash happens
13.
on 5, and then 8.
It means 13.
Okay, so it's
okay.
actually the same as escape velocity, I believe. But unlike escape velocity, it can also kind of hit behind you. So if they're jumping over you, you can hit them like that. And it grazes from frame 1. So while not as effective as escape velocity, it definitely has a bit of a reversal use. And also, unlike escape velocity, it's actually reasonably safe, even if they bait it, because Marisa can act as the explosion's happening. So, Chef, I'm not sure how you feel about this from experience, but if like they bait it, do you often find that you're at an advantage, or it's more return to neutral?
It depends on the character, but most of the time it's going to be neutral because most people aren't going to risk timing such a tight timing,
right?
Where they could get counted for like 4,000.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're near Marisa, because the explosion covers Marisa herself.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's really viable to punish it because she can act as the explosion's happening. But I think if an opponent's careful and backs off, it's just going to return them back to neutral, which is what Chef was getting at. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean...
most people will opt to do a graze attack.
Ah, that's true, that's true. If you can catch Marisa as she's doing it with a graze attack, like Marisa's 623C, you'll be able to punish her for it. Although it won't be too bad of a punish, as usually graze attacks are, one-off hits. So, yeah, it's a bit of a different kind of a reversal to escape velocity. But it's definitely got much more combo use than escape velocity. So what are our thoughts on the tiering of this card? Oh, and Brooklyn mentions the Spring Haze reversal too.
Yeah.
So
I'd probably put it higher than 3-cost DP.
Yep, okay, I agree with that. So would you say
I don't know if it's high enough to go in A tier though.
Well, I would say it's much more commonly run than Orreries and probably has a much more obvious benefit. And it's useful in a lot more situations, and it's generally pretty well, it's quite strong. So I would say it's stronger than Orreries in itself. I would say the big clash would be with a Meteor Sonic Debris. Would we say that it's stronger or weaker than that overall?
Alright, hear me out, guys. I want to sell you on this idea.
Okay.
What if I told you Gravity Beat is essentially a vertical Master Spark?
I see what you're saying. So, in line with what we were saying about Master Spark coming at you as a reversal or as a full screen snipe at round start, if they're above you, due to its extremely fast startup, you can just hit them out of the sky like that. So, Chef has raised a pretty valid point regarding that. It's got an additional use as like a snipe. So yeah, I think versatility-wise, it definitely wins out compared to Meteor Sonic Debris. It obviously costs a lot more being a 3 cost, but I don't know. I would put it higher. Is that everyone's consensus?
Yeah, I can agree with that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I like
that would
round
be a
start
good
shenanigans.
spot.
For my personal advice, I honestly will put it in S tier with Master Spark. 'Cause that's
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, I would say it's a pretty clear cut above the B, so I think... should we settle at A then?
Yeah, okay.
That's not a bad idea.
We got no A's yet anyway.
I'll take that
Yep,
settlement.
Chef will take that settlement. Okay. So, now we just had an A tier card. Let's look at something that's probably not A tier. I'm sure majority of people would have never seen this card and will never see this card.
For good reason.
Earthlight Ray. So those of
I've
you
seen it in Touhou 8.
who play Touhou Imperishable Knight may remember this card as a normal and easy difficulty laser attack. It's pretty faithful to it, as you can see. It looks pretty impressive too. And it actually hits very hard if you can land it properly. But other than looking impressive and potentially punishing whiffed attacks when your back's to the corner, which is a very niche situation, I wouldn't say it's got many uses.
I think I've seen the skill card version of it like once
Oh,
or
Devil
twice.
Dom Torch, right? Okay, okay. It's unlike that one, it's not very useful, unfortunately. Chef, do you know any use for this? Have you tried using it before?
There is like one use that I know of that's super niche, but
Okay.
that like almost never comes up. Because if you're trying to run niche things, you're better off just running a massive gimmick that does like over 5,000 damage.
That's right. Yeah, I see. So yeah, I can't see much going for this card. I mean, if you get it at the right spacing for a 3 card, it does 3.8k, which is pretty good.
It's almost a Master Spark.
Unlike Master Spark, it does reach to the top of the screen, so that's something. You can combo it like that. But yeah,
Maybe there was a card that could also reach to the top of the screen. Oh wait, he has that too.
it's got tough competition among its 3 costs sister cards. So unfortunately, I'm not seeing much case for this to be above D tier. What do we think?
I think it
Yeah,
reminds
I
me
would
of...
point out. Have you tried using it in the corner?
In the
Yeah.
corner? Okay. I have a bad feeling for the card. What we're gonna see here. Here's it in the corner.
I just had a thought.
Oh,
I
wait.
just had a thought. Maybe Chef could make like a tier list. Is like each tier says how much it's like Master Spark.
Well, this
Likeness to
one's
Master Spark tier list.
it's got a lot of lasers, but they're not
This is
pointing
like
in the right
0.8 Master
direction.
Sparks.
Pointing
Yeah.
Master Sparks. So
Directional laser.
yeah, we unfortunately saw its corner damage. If it hits at all, it's 1 or 2 hits for like 1.5k damage.
That's why I put
Ooh.
this at the very bottom because of
So
that.
yep, it's very bottom. The dreaded D tier is what we're putting it at for now.
Yeah, I reckon. Reminds
Okay.
me of Komachi's other 4 costs.
It's that.
Oh,
That's,
that one.
I would say that's a lot better than this one.
Well, yeah, that heals.
And it actually, you can use it in crush strings too, because it's airtight off like 6C. But yeah, it's.
But anyway.
I wouldn't say this is a good card, so I'll put it in D tier. Brooklyn comments S because it looks cool. That's true, it does look cool. Unfortunately, in terms of usefulness, though, it's not very good. So, not to break the trends of potentially D tier cards, we've got non-directional laser.
Yay!
So I'm not sure if anyone's seen this in a match before. Chef, have you tried using this before?
I've tried labbing it in practice mode. I never use it in like actual
Oh,
matches.
okay, I
'cause
see.
It's also just as useless.
So
Just wanting to point out that we have like a almost perfect normal distribution. of
yes, we
cards right
do.
now.
The cards are pretty well spread right now. So, I mean, as we can see on screen, it actually hits... Oh, it does about the same damage as Master Spark at full screen. Which is, I guess, not terrible.
Keep in mind, it costs 4.
It does cost 4
One more,
cards. It hits a tiny bit
getting
harder than Master
expensive
Spark,
here.
actually. So, on paper, it's like a 1 more expensive Master Spark that hits less hard. It does knock down, I just tried that, so it's something going for it. But the big problem with this one is that it doesn't have the versatility of Master Spark. And the reason for that is, so Master Spark is airtight of 6C, and it does 1 orb. As is non-directional laser actually. So that's something going for it. But it does like 0.5 orbs on block, something really bad for 4 cards. It does 1.7.
What's the startup on this thing anyway?
17 plus 7.
So 24. That's actually really slow then. What's Master Spark? It's like 17, isn't it? Something like that.
9 plus 19.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. It's faster than Master Spark then. Oh. Interesting.
How good is it on round start?
Not as you can see, it has to travel, unlike Master Spark. So
yeah,
I think
that's
if
not the problem.
yeah, if you're going to use it as a snipe, it's not doesn't surprise them like Master Spark does, where it just hits them immediately. So yeah, it's like I mean, it actually does some things better than Master Spark. Slightly more damage, big reach vertically. It actually is airtight of 6C, which surprised me, and apparently is faster than Master Spark, at least at close range. But the reduced spirit damage is a real problem for it, especially considering it costs a whole extra card over Master Spark.
That's the big thing. If it costs 3 cards, I'd be totally fine with this.
Yeah, it would be a pretty good trade-off for Master Spark if it was 3 cards, actually, based on what we've seen. But unfortunately, that's not the case. It's not air usable either. I was thinking that would be a pretty cool way to give it a unique use. But
maybe it's
that
time to
would
call
also be very
Testify.
nice.
But actually, one thing I can think of is that in Typhoon, because they have to graze it, it actually could be a potent full screen attack, because although I can't really demonstrate it in practice mode, on graze it does a substantial amount of spirit damage. But the problem is that, well, there's no reason to graze it outside of Typhoon.
Well, you could set a macro for Sane to graze and then do it.
That's true.
Probably.
I'll set her to, I guess, 60. Actually, hold on.
One comment that the wiki has, it says, "Why did they all go forward then, huh?"
That's
called
true. They're
non-directional.
not non-directional. They're forward-facing. Okay. Oh, hold on. I can do this. Oh no, Grey Thaumaturge is air usable. Okay. But anyway, yeah. So in Typhoon, you can kind of use it to catch them on low spirit, I guess. But that's a very niche use for a card that otherwise, yeah, it's not very good. So I would say this is probably C tier. What are we thinking? It's very uncommon.
Very low C
Yeah.
tier.
Bottom
It's-
C.
Bottom C. I think it's the cost that kills it. It would be a decent trade-off to Master Spark, but there's because Master Spark exists, it loses out on basically every aspect and becomes a very underwhelming, uncommon 4 card. If it did the same spirit damage as Master Spark, I could see it being as like a Master Spark v 1.5 and maybe being
You ever
worth.
seen it in a combo video?
Yeah, it is good in combo videos. I'll give it that.
Nice and flashy.
It is flashy.
What is
I've
known as
seen it
power
in a
creep.
combo video.
But yeah, it gets power creeped by Master Spark. I would say it's a pretty even match for Master Spark. Actually, yeah, it doesn't have the invincibility though, does it, Stooge?
Oh,
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so it's arguably a side grade of Master Spark for 1 more card, and Marisa's already running 4 Master Sparks usually, so I think on another character it would be decent, but on Marisa it's a low C is, I think, a fair assumption. Okay, moving on, we've got
Nuke.
Deep Ecological Bomb. So
S
S tier. Shep's chipping in with his pet card. So this one is there was a tier list that we had earlier which said cards that hurt Marisa, Deep Ecological Bomb, and a Recycled Bomb, and everything else does not hurt Marisa. So this one, Marisa throws a bomb that bounces like this, and once the bomb finishes its cooldown, it does an unblockable explosion that hits pretty hard, 4,000 damage, and it can counter hit. Not sure why it would counter hit, but it can counter hit. And
You
if
want
it,
even more weird things?
yep.
Heavy Fog also gets affected by it.
Oh,
yourself.
okay. Yeah, that's so you
You-
so if you hit yourself and the opponent with it during heavy fog, would you heal back? You should heal back all the damage you take, right? Because it's 50% of the damage you deal and 50% of the damage you dealt yourself.
Wait, what if you just hit yourself? Does the opponent gain life?
No, I know that it goes
you
to
take
you.
less damage from it.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So that's interesting. I guess it can only help its case.
I think I can
So-
also remember seeing a GIF of Marisa already winning a round, but
Oh,
then
then
that
killing
bomb is
herself
still...
with it.
Yes.
Well, Chef's done that a lot. I think so. Yeah, it's a fun spell. Definitely a wild card. And Marisa, if she runs her default 623, can graze through it and keep them block stun of that 623. It's kind of
Good.
sort of. There's a 10 frame window where they can't be you because of the hit stop, so you've got 10 frames to make it a checkmate. But it's quite difficult, obviously, and the problem is if they graze it for, I think, 1 frame, it goes away.
Yes.
So it's very difficult to land in a match. Obviously, I think the main use of it would be to make them terrified of it and then hit them with other things. That's kind of the impression I get from when you play with it, Chef.
Technically not. I'm still actually trying to get them to block it.
Okay.
But if they escape, then I'm fine with it. I don't
Yeah, I see. So yeah, you kind of put it out with the expectation it's probably not going to hit, but if it does hit, it's going to hit really hard. Just make sure you don't get hit or else you're going to really...
Well, you try not to, but if you are afraid to get hit, you should not be using it.
Yeah, you
have
need to be
not afraid to be hit.
It's the brave person spell card. So in terms, like, it's quite fun, but in terms of actual usefulness, what do we think about this card?
I think it's good mental damage.
Good mental damage. Would we say? I'd say it's. I'd say it's better than Earth Light Ray. That's all I can really say about it. Unfortunately, it's a 4 cost, and the recovery on it's long too, so you can't use it as like a pressure cancel. That would have been interesting. Actually, you can.
Most things. However,
Chef has
there
a use
is
for
one
it.
setup I do have for it.
That's
If you
right.
get someone to block a charge 5C and then use the spell card into it,
You can
it
actually
gives
reset.
you the setup.
That's
that
right.
enough,
Yeah, I just remembered that as I was talking about the block strings. Chef likes to do this. I'll show it on screen. So in pressure, you do like a charge 5C. If they respect that, out of fear of something else, you can actually keep them pressured like this, and then hopefully not get blown up like I did there. So I mean, even if it misses, not all hope is lost. As you can see, it doesn't travel far, but Marisa can kick it along with her melees. So you can do like that. Unfortunately, she can't cancel off hitting it, it seems, which is interesting, but it lets you get a bit of control over how far it goes and also the timing. I think it takes a second before it explodes from when you last hit it, so you can technically keep it afloat forever if you're kicking it really well. But yeah, it gives you a bit of control. Not sure how much room the opponent will give you to control it, but it's something. So in terms of tier, I mean, it's very fun, but I'm having a hard time putting it, you know, even above non-directional laser. Well, what do we think?
Well, hear me out.
Okay.
Unlike non-directional laser, we have evidence that it can work.
That Chef makes a good point. There's videos on YouTube of it working. So, okay. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to complain if we move it above non-directional laser. So based on that, I'm putting it at mid-C tier. Are we happy with that?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay.
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the best I'm going to get. Fine, I'll take it.
Yes, you have a bit of a tough sell there, Chef. Okay, so now we've got into her 5 costs, which she interestingly has 4 of. I think that might be the biggest amount of 5 costs in the game. So we're looking at the first one, a Final Master Spark. Actually, I think it's just called Final Spark in this one.
Yes, it's fine, spot.
So this one is a very hard-hitting 5 cost. I'll put it on screen right now.
Big laser.
Yeah, if you hit it raw, it's gonna do an enormous amount of damage, uncharacteristic even for 5 costs. So it does 6.25k on a hit if you just hit it raw. And on its most common combo, which would be Dial A, not an uncommon situation, it's going to do, I think, 4.9k, which is a lot for a combo 5 cost. So yeah, I mean, in terms of combos, it's a bit limited in what goes into it. It's only ground usable. It's a lot slower than Master Spark, so you can't 6C into it. You'll need counter hits off a lot of moves to combo into it. Though if it is a counter hit, you can react into it, I guess. But it hits very hard. And another thing is that while it won't be airtight off things, if they do graze it, it does drain their spirit. So you can kind of do checkmate situations, especially if they're high in the air. So that's something to consider when rating this one. It's 5 cards, but it definitely hits very hard, and it's reasonable to expect you to be able to combo into it. What do we think in terms of tiers for this one, Chef? I know you don't use this one that often, right? I haven't seen you use it much, Chef.
I used it very early on in like 2010.
Right, okay. It is invincible after Spell Flash. It does share that trait with Master Spark, though it's a lot slower. I know I can personally attest that I've used it as a reversal effectively against like LSJ2A. So it's not useless as a reversal, but obviously very easy to bait. So yeah, I would say it's primarily a combo card and maybe a neutral mini Royal Flare of sorts. So yeah, it's an iconic spell of Marisa's in the series, but what would we say in this game in terms of its tier?
How comparable is it to the Master Spark?
I would say it hits a lot harder, but
it's like 2x Master Spark.
That's right. In terms of damage, it is, but the thing is, and it's also about twice as big, but it loses out on all the aspects of Master Spark that make it strong, like its versatility, its ability to combo full screen off 6C, ability to guard crush, ability to be used as a kind of reversal, a snipe.
Round start ability?
Round start ability. It's missing all of those, and it's going purely for damage. Although, unlike a card we'll mention later, it is actually pretty reasonable to combo into it.
Can you even use it to crush people in the air?
You can. It's not going to be airtight, unless they block like Stellar Missile. But it's possible, and working for its favor is that it drains Spirit on Graze as well. So, although it only does like 1 orb on block, which is a bit of a shame.
I mean, if they are on 1 orb, then it is enough.
Yeah, you can use it like a mini Royal Flare as long as they don't have enough orbs to escape its limited range. And also it will miss completely at longer ranges against grounded opponents because it's angled up. So I mean, I like it. I used to run it a lot because the damage kind of justified it even off Dial A or like Dash C counter hit, 3A counter hit. But yeah, it's losing a lot of the versatility of Master Spark. So I would not put it at S. I would probably not put it at A. I'm thinking maybe mid-high B. What do we think of that?
I'm happy with that.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So we'll put it at above Ori's Sun, maybe, if it's mid B. It is not uncommon, and the damage kind of justifies itself. But it's for an expensive card, it's missing a lot of versatility. So yeah, next card kind of looks at Final Master Spark and goes, what if we sacrifice some of that damage for versatility? So we've got Dragon Meteor. This card is basically Final Master Spark. It hits almost as hard. Let me see how much it does raw.
It's like 1.5?
Yeah, it's even Dragon Meteor for a 5 card actually hits quite hard from memory. Let's see. So 5.4. Actually, yeah, for a 5 card, 5.4. That is actually if we consider Atlas is a hard hitting 5 cost at 5k, it is actually a very hard hitting 5 cost. And the main thing it has over 5.6k actually. Sorry, I had got some. That isn't a the standard's a bit skewed due to Marisa's other 5 costs, but is also an incredibly hard hitting 5 cost. And unlike Final Master Spark, it's air usable, meaning it's got a lot of air combos that go into it. So like J6A, J8A, even J6C goes into it at certain heights. So I would say while the use is also basically just combos, it is much more readily comboable into. Yeah, so Chef, are you fond of this card, or what are your kind of views on this one?
I am very fond of this card. The only thing that I don't like about it is that the invincibility is quite late.
Right. Actually, is it I think it's... Stooge, can you check if it's what frame it comes on?
17, and that's it.
Right.
1 frame.
1 frame. Okay. Oh, okay. I was mistaken. I always thought it was invincible on the way up, so I thought it would be quite quick. So okay, so you can't use it as a reversal really. So
yeah, I've
tried. Chef's tried. And unlike Final Master Spike, it does not drain on graze. So if they graze it, they're getting out free. There's no way around it really. One thing it does have going for it though, and I'm not sure if this is something we should really consider in its tier, is that after landing, it's got a very short recovery. So it's, I mean, it is possible to punish it, but it can be hard. And something you see players do like Chef is DP after landing.
Oh yeah!
So, I mean, I'm not sure how valid that is as a use, but it's something to consider. It's hard to punish at the least. Not that you should use it in places where it's punishable in the first place. So yeah.
How would you compare this card to Tenshi's SWR?
It's much better than SWR.
I think the better comparison is compare it to Lunatic Red Eyes.
Yes, that's a very good comparison.
Oh,
so
yeah,
both of them are very versatile in the sense that almost anything goes into them. Ground combo, air combo goes into both. Dragon Meteor hits harder, but Lunatic Red Eyes, so there's actually a story to go with this. Dragon Meteor, as you can see, adds limit with each hit. It adds 58 limit. And if you actually limit them part way, so you accidentally do it off like a, what's it, J6A, and you input J5C and go, oh, I hit them, and then go into Dragon Meteor, it's going to limit them part way, and they can actually punish you. This has happened in a tournament in Japan, and it lost the person the game, which is really tragic, as you can see Sunai wakes up well in time to punish. So you've got to be a bit careful. I think if we were to look at LRE, it loses out in... Also, LRE can be used for crush strings because it's airtight. So I think LRE is a stronger card, but I don't think that makes Dragon Meteor weak. To quote something, just because it's weaker doesn't mean... Oh, no, actually it doesn't work. But it's weaker than LRE, but it doesn't mean that it's weak. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, basically think about it like this. You have an air hit confirm into a 5 card. That is nuts.
Yep, and it's an extra hard hitting 5 card too. You can get like well over 4.5k of air combos, which is a huge amount of damage considering air combos tend to do less usually. So yeah, I personally really like this card. I would say it's easily I would say it's even better than Gravity Beat, but I don't know what the rest of you guys' thoughts are on this.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to say, so I think I'll leave it to Chef.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a solid A, and the other thing you have to realize is that finding an air hit confirm 5 card is really hard for the entire cast. Very few characters actually have this option.
That's right,
so
that is a pretty uncommon. Yeah, and also it's combined by the fact that Marisa's J6A and J8A are both really effective. So, and not only that, you can even combo off like air-to-air J6C hits. So I'd say very easy card to combo into and pretty hard hitting. Only neck is that it's a 5 cost, but I think the damage makes up for that well and truly. So while it's not as easy to use as Master Spark and low cost like Luminous Strike, I would say it's a very solid part of the kit, and I think it cements its place in the high A. Okay.
Oh, also, one more thing to add. You can also have an air unblockable setup into this as well too.
Oh, really? Like dash C counter hit into it, or?
Oh no, air unblockable 5A into 63C into Dragon.
Ah, I see. That's true. So it has that's similar to in Gravity Beat. You can do air unblockable 4A into Gravity Beat, but with this one, if you put in a 623C, You actually get the same effect as I showed on screen. So that's an interesting use Chef brought up there. Definitely helps it. So yeah, I think that high A is definitely justified. Okay, next one is another kind of Chef card.
That's what I put it.
So this one's called Blazing Star. I think Marisa's last word in Imperishable Night.
Yes.
It's a ungrazable bullet that does 5 orbs on block. So if they're in the air, at the very least, you're going to guard crush them, which is pretty nice. If they try to graze it, even in Spring Haze, because it's not a melee, it's going to hit them. So there's a bit of a knowledge check. And in Typhoon, of course, they can't block it. So it's a very potent Typhoon card. I would say, yeah, it's one of the stronger Typhoon weapons in the game. Doing a hefty... Oh, sorry, that was...
Should be 5k.
Drizzle. Yeah, it's 5k exact from memory, so let's see. But yeah, it's pretty quick, very big as well. So if you catch them in the air, it's 5k damage, which is pretty scary. So most opponents are going to try to limit their movement in Typhoon and stay low to the ground. Other uses is that I believe it's invincible from frame 1, technically making it a reversal.
Frame 1.
Yep.
So you can actually use it while being pressured, and if they did like a really committal move in their pressure, you'll punish it with the Blazing Star, which is pretty interesting. And I mean, even if they block it, it's gonna guard crush, making it hard to punish. In the air, if they block it, it's unpunishable, so that's going for it. What else? It's decent in combos. I think it probably has some good air-to-air combos as well. Though I think mostly it's similar to Final Master Spark in where you can use it. Like off dial A or certain counter hits. Let's see if it combos off this. Oh, it does.
Off a 623C as well.
And it combos off a J8A, even the second hit. So actually has combo ability not too different to Dragon Meteor then. But I don't think it'll combo off like J6A or J6C. So yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off. With all her 5 cards have this nice trade-off going. So it doesn't hit very hard in combos, but it's got utility in Typhoon and technically a reversal. It has pretty decent combo ability. Okay, so it only work off J8A, but J8A is pretty potent. So I mean, it's not as common as Dragon Meteor and Marisa decks, and I would say should be. Okay, I would personally say it's not as strong, but sounds like Chef, you're thinking that it's roughly about as good.
Well, let me put it this way. If you want to use this card, you have to go to the library, because you need to read your opponent's.
Okay.
Very good.
So it's a very read-centric card, not used in like combos where there's no reads involved, like a Dragon Meteor. So it's a bit of a I guess read-heavy gamble-like move, but with a good payoff, 5k outright is pretty solid for basically what is a melee, though not really. And the Typhoon.
Typhoon.
Yep.
However, did you forget to mention that you can use it as a cross-up with Marisa Potion?
All right.
Yep, that's my tag.
So there's an interesting situation where you can put out a
do a
2-2
promotion for Check MKT's channel. Let's pull up some videos from his channel.
Where
here we go.
I mean, it's got to take a while to find the one, so we're passing it for now. But there's a use in that you can put out a 2-2 and then
How about I find it and then I'll
if
give
you find
to
it
to show
first. But yeah, there's an interesting synergy with her like 2C bomb. Oh, sorry, wrong 5 cost. But if you guard crush them in the air, it knocks them into it, so it can kind of create guaranteed damage in certain situations. And of course, you can also cross them up with it. I think Chef's got a video of that, so we'll probably see that soon. Not that I would recommend these as its main use, but it's something that's there, so... In terms of tier, what would we say it fits as?
Better than Brooklyn in chat asks, would it be better or worse if it didn't go higher as your opponent is higher?
I would say worse, because even at minimum height, it misses versus crouch. So I think the kind of tracking it has versus higher opponents only helps its case.
Just to clarify something, I don't think it actually tracks it based on the opponent. I believe it actually is based on what height Marisa used it at, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, actually, I think Chef's right, because in Typhoon flying over... Yeah, there you go, it just flew right over them. So yeah, Chef's right. Sorry about that. Basically, it just goes above where Marisa is. So on the ground, it'll always fly at a height where they can crouch under it, or use a low profile move for some of the bigger characters. And in air to air, you've got to be careful because it's going to appear above where you used it. So if it did work like what Brooklyn said, I think it would actually be better.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's yeah, something working against it, especially in Typhoon, because that lets them fly under you if you're in the air.
So here's something else I want to bring up as we pull up some video examples.
Okay.
So in terms of your options, when you fire a bullet, what are your options after doing the bullet?
You can only high jump or go into a skill or spell, right?
Aha! That is the main priority use.
I see.
Firing a bullet and then high jump cancel, bam! Blazing star to the face.
Okay. So, yeah, I see what you mean by the read aspects. If you read them doing a bullet and then, I guess, even they technically could backstep, but they'd need to leave the bullet uncancelled and then see the blazing star coming, then time the backstep, which would probably not be...
Who's going to know that in that situation?
Yeah, exactly. That's an incredible read from them if they did that. So, Chef's right. Taking advantage of its relatively quick travel across the screen and its trait of being ungrazable, you can indeed catch them during the high jump, unblockable frames to get that 5,000 damage outright. So that's another use going for it. Due to its hitbox, you can't avoid it like Reverie either. So yeah, I think it's pretty versatile. It's in combos lacking a bit of a punch, but if it hits outright, 5k is definitely a formidable amount of damage. So what do we think of its tier?
You want my answer or the serious answer?
Let's start with your answer.
It needs to be put in its own tier.
Okay. Blazing Star tier. I mean, I can see it being like I'd say it's better than Final Spark probably. So I can see it being a low A tier personally. But what do we think?
How does it compare to... Is that Gravity Beat on A?
Yes, Gravity beats the lower end of A.
How does that compare to it, I think?
I mean, it's much heftier. It's not as safe to throw out in a sense, but it also will catch more things than Gravity Beat because it's ungrazable. It also has Typhoon use, hits harder but costs 2 more. I personally see it as a bit of a trade-off. Fairly
so like
equal.
About the same, but sort of like because you're trading. Okay.
Yeah, Gravity Beat is something I would run like 1 or 2 of, and I'd say if I were to run Blazing Star, I would also run maybe 1 as like a Typhoon weapon, or if the situation comes up.
Even if it's just 1 copy, just for the Typhoon weapon alone is enough to warrant use.
So I mean, if that's the case, we can say it's equal to Gravity Beat and put it at low-ish A. As a serious answer?
Sure. I'll take that as a serious answer.
Chef will take that as a serious answer. Okay. So there we go. Our spell stream is looking pretty done here. We just have 1 card left. So this one's gonna be a bit... I think some people will swear by this card and some people will say it's not worth it. But without saying anything, let's just see how hard it hits. So this one's called Surefire Master Spark.
It's a very perverse card.
Perversion Surefire Master Spark. So, big laser, 6.8k damage. So I think that hits harder than Massacre SWR. I think it's the second hardest hitting spell card in the game, potentially.
I believe so, yes.
So yeah, other than Fantasy Heaven, which has a very strict activation kind of trigger, this one, if you can land it, it's straightforward. It deals 68% of their health in one go, so definitely nothing to be scoffed at if you hit it raw.
This card has one of the weirdest properties in the game. It actually does more damage if you guard crush with it in a specific way.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So yeah, there's a guard crush use. Oh, oops. But it's a very the main ways you'd go into this would be if you get a counter hit dash C. It's a bit hard to react, but it's reactable. That does a sizable, almost 6k damage. Very, very heavy hitting confirm. Otherwise, you can do it off a 2-1 for counter hit off the ground on reaction as well. That does 6.6k damage. Okay. So those are the two main ways to go into it. I believe at certain heights you can go off J6A counter hit as well. Yep, we've got it there. That's a 6.5k. Okay, that's really nice. And even J6A charged counter hit. So yeah, it's the most limited in terms of combo ability out of her 5 cards, but by far the hardest hitting one. 6.9k for that one. So and another thing is if you somehow know you're not going to counter hit, you can do a 623C into it. If it's not counter hit, on counter hit it won't work, which is amazing.
Correct.
But yeah, so you can also combo off guard crushes, like Chef said. It hits very hard in guard crushes as well, but it's quite hard. The only feasible way I could see you going into it would be off a dash B, since that does 1 orb, or a timed 6C. And a Chef, I'm not sure if I believe many years ago you were using it with Devil Dom Torch. What's your thoughts on that one?
It's a very good gimmick if the opponent has never seen this card before and how it works. So you can always catch it at least once doing it. So it's a 100% gimmick card.
100% gimmick. Okay. So yeah, if you can, there's actually a string where it's airtight off one of her 2/2 cards. And it does a lot of spirit damage on blocks, so let's see how many it does.
It does an okay amount of damage, but the most important thing, it locks them down so that they can't border escape out, and then you can fire your card and it's
2.4, yeah, 2.4 orbs. So the caveat would be if they border escape before the Devil Dome Torch or high jumped out. So it's got the prerequisite of them blocking the 2/2, but if they do block it, I think if a lot of situations, it's going to guard crush into sizable damage. But it's a gimmick, as Chef said. It's not too reliable.
Yeah, the easiest way to get a guaranteed Double Dome Torch block is if they wrong block a Far 5A or 3A, then it's guaranteed.
That's interesting. So it's got a potential pressure use as well. I've personally found success with using it off 6C. If I manage to get them on like 1-ish orb, I can do this. Oh no, I mistimed it. It's a bit difficult to time, but if you get the perfect crush, can't be less than a perfect crush or more than a perfect crush. But if you get the perfect crush, you can go into it straight. Dash B makes it a lot easier since that's 1 orb in 1 hit. So yeah, basically this trades off everything the other 5 costs have for even more damage. That damage is definitely noticeable. It's still got some confirms, but it doesn't confirm with Dial A, which hurts its case a bit. So what do we think of this one?
That's the Marisa thing, isn't it? Like in the Touhou series, it's just trading.
Dumbaku's power.
Like, yeah, exactly.
It's a very Marisa card in a sense, the epitome of Dumbaku's power. That's unfortunately, versatility is a very important factor when looking at the tier of cards.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say it's actually not that uncommon. I know it's a reasonably run Marisa card, at least from what I've seen. Even just 1 copy. Some people run 4 because they're desperate to land it. So yeah, I would say it's usable and it's got a pretty decent case for its use. I would say it's probably more distinct in its use and kind of has a bigger payoff than the C tier cards. So I was thinking either high C or low B. What do we think?
I think that's a good spot. However,
okay, Chef's got a comment and Kookie as well.
We're putting this higher than the bomb?
I see. So Chef thinks it should be lower.
It's either that or we put the bomb higher.
Just the bomb that he wants to save. Kookie, what were you gonna say?
I'm thinking of putting it at D tier to give that a perfect distribution of cards.
You know, I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite at the level of Earthlight Ray. I mean, okay, let's go down up. It's definitely better than Earthlight Ray. I would say it's probably better than Non-Directional Laser.
Yep.
I would say it's probably better than the bomb. Chef disagrees. Okay, what about Stardust Reverie? What do you think, Chef?
I mean, I've used this card more than the Stardust personally.
Okay, so it would be I mean, Stardust's low cost, which is nice. It's a unique horizontal raise move from Marisa from frame 1. Has some Typhoon use, but I think it's, you know, for a card like that, you wouldn't want to just for the kind of cards that you can get away with running one copy, usually are ones that are high impact. So I think this 5 cost is a bit more suitable for that.
Yes.
And Marisa's deck is a bit crammed already with all the really strong spells she has. So I would argue it's better than Stardust Reverie, just based on deck synergy, and how it has a big impact on the outcome of the match. So I guess then the big decider would be, what do we think of it compared to Escape Velocity?
Oh, that's hard. In terms of damage, then I'd say yes.
Yeah, compared to damage, it's above basically everything in the game.
Yes.
Other than Life Swap, Giang says.
So, what was the card we were comparing it to?
Escape Velocity, the DP.
That's the one. That's the completely invincible DP.
Reversal,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. That's hard. And you were saying it's not very versatile either.
It's very limited.
You cannot
into
combo this
versatility.
off of a Dilay.
Yeah, most the combo situations are limited to counter hits, pretty much always, and some of them are pretty hard to react to, especially Dash C, and the crush use is also very limited. You need a perfect crush,
Or have a bunch of skill cards. That
or have
give
Devil
you
Dome
that
Torch. Yeah,
setup,
that's
which
right.
is very gimmicky.
Might work off green spread. I'm not sure.
It does work off of
Oh,
green
okay,
spread,
it does
yes.
work off green spread. So I mean, you need to run a deck for it, but it does. You can make it more versatile. Not sure if it's worth it though, but I'd say that it probably seems B tier to me. It's just, would we say the versatility of a reversal outweighs it or underweighs it?
You know what's my opinion?
Yep.
I think that excuse me. I think that they made the Surefire spell just because so that Marisa can run 20 sparks.
That's right. She can have 4 Master Sparks, 4 Surefire, 4 Dragon Meteor, 4 Final Master Spark, and I guess we're not going to count non-directional lasers, so 4 Narrow Spark. Okay, I mean, I'd personally put it as like, I'd say it's probably comparable to Orrery's, maybe better than Orrery's actually. I'd say it's worse than Final Spark overall.
Oh, that's for sure.
So I think maybe we've ended up with kind of mid-low B tier. Are we kind of happy to progress with that?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep moving on.
So we've got the complete spell tier list. So going top to bottom.
Yeah, but you still have to show them the videos.
Do you have the link, Giang?
Yeah?
Okay.
Oh, let's go!
Let's see the
relive
video.
the olden days.
Let's see.
I'm excited.
How do I get this on stream? Okay. One moment. So
You're on a
this is
browser,
called
right?
The bomb setup.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly which
Okay.
video this is.
Hold on, I'll put this window on stream. Browser. Sorry, no, it has to be window capture. Window capture. We've got some early reactions to the video.
I watched it already.
I have not seen it yet, so
that's
don't
great.
spoil it for me, guys.
No, I won't spoil.
Oh, you haven't seen this? Oh, man.
Really?
I have
we
not
should make
seen
it
it,
compulsory viewing for OCE.
That'd be great, yeah. Have a viewing party.
Okay, so we've got it on screen now by the channel Chef MKT. The video is called Touhou Hisoutensoku, the bomb setup. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. So we've got Alice versus Marisa. I believe that's Giang.
Yeah.
throwing those 2-2 bombs. Oh, the setup. So what we saw there was so the property that Blazing Star is a bullet that does 5 orbs that's ungrazable, means that if they're in the air it's going to guard crush if it connects with them. So using that in synergy with the bouncing bomb 2-2 makes the knockback from the block guard crush throw them into the 2-2 bomb, and this incredibly high IQ maneuver.
Yeah, that's some impeccable timing. I'm impressed.
It's definitely one of the most advanced setups I've seen. Not sure if it's worth it, considering it only did like 1.5k damage overall. But I think it's always worth it. The mental damage, makes it worth it.
5 mental damage.
So yeah, that's a interesting way to finish off our spell list. I'm glad we got to see that. Not sure, do we want to quickly brush over the skills? I feel like we might be able to speed up the skills over the spells if we really try.
Yeah, they're not as complex, it seems, so yeah, we can be a bit faster.
Yeah, actually, a lot of the skills are pretty straightforward, so okay. Okay, so we've got our final spell tier list.
Klempfer, you didn't show them the other video. The other video is better.
Oh, there's another video?
Oh yeah, this is the other video.
Highlights versus Reticent. Poor Reticent. I saw them hosting the other day, they're still around.
Yeah, they're still around.
Okay, so putting that back on. So oh, okay. This is the bomb setup I was thinking of when Chef first mentioned it. So this is with default 2-2, where she just throws a bomb down, versus this Alice player who's gonna be for a rude shock, it seems. So here goes 3, 2, 1. Chef throws the 2-2, goes to Blazing Star, and crosses up. So what happened there was that the 2-2, it doesn't have a hitbox until it explodes, which is when it reaches the ground. So there's a delay before it explodes, especially when you use it from the air like Chef did. And Blazing Star travels across the screen at a really high speed. So what like the Alice... just Marisa things. So what the Marisa here Chef did was, knowing that Reticent would avoid the Blazing Star probably with a crouch, he placed the 2-2 bomb to land on the ground just as Blazing Star was about to reach Reticent, so they couldn't graze. As if they were good with the graze, they'd be hit outright by the Blazing Star. So what happened is Chef passed over the head of the Alice just as the bomb exploded, giving them a completely unpredictable, unexpected cross-up that I don't think anyone would see coming or really be able to block. So yeah, it's not sure if it's worth it again. It only did like 500 damage.
It's a full screen cross-up, that's insane. No one has that.
That's true. It is a unique thing to Marisa for 5 cards. And I think the mental damage dealt to the Alice was very immense. So yeah, a bit of a blast from the past with these videos. I think they've actually made their rounds on Hisoutensoku as well, which is fun.
They definitely have.
So yeah, that's our spell tier list done. So we've got 2 in S, Luminous, Master Spark, 3 in A, Dragon, Meteor, Gravity Beat, Blazing Star, which you just saw. Maybe that can go to the top of S based on what we just saw there. B, Meteor Sonic Debris, Final Master Spark, Surefire, Ori, Sun, Escape Velocity, and in C, Stardust Reverie, the Deep Ecological Bomb, Non-Directional Laser, and all alone in D, arguably one of the least useful spells in the game, you've got Earth Light Ray. So yeah, I guess we'll quickly move on to the skills. So I'll just clear out the tier list now.
Don't forget to save it.
Oh, no, I'll get a screenshot from the stream later.
I see.
But so now we've got the skills. So Marisa has a lot of spells, but with skills, like everyone else, she just has 2 alternates for each input. So starting from what we've got is it looks like we've got the 2-1-4s. So we'll start off with her default 2-1-4, Witch Leyline. So this one's a interesting skill. It looks like it would be a border escape catch at first glance, but unfortunately it's too slow, especially on the ground, to catch most border escapes. Though
It's
it
a
will
bit more
stop.
like a bus.
A bus.
Yeah, right, isn't it?
I mean, she does travel forwards on a broom, a taxi broom maybe, but it's more like a motorbike in that sense. But so it unfortunately doesn't catch border escapes, but it actually does have good synergy with Marisa's pressure, as a lot of the time you have a mix-up with 6C being not airtight. So you'd catch an opponent trying to graze out in anticipation of 6C. So it's definitely helps her pressure, and in air-to-air, it's a pretty potent escape catch. I think it can catch most border escapes as long as you're horizontally aligned, so that's something to consider. And at level 0, it has all that functionality, but at level 1, it gains the ability to cancel on, if it misses, you can go into anything actually, even a melee, making it pretty safe, and even a decent option for traveling across the screen quickly, I believe. And also, because of that, it gains a huge amount of damage on combos. If you get a counter hit with this, even without spell cards, you're going to go easily over 4k if you get the right counter hit. So yeah, Chef, I expect you like using this card a lot. I recall you'd use this in a way that it hits the opponents backwards sometimes.
I could write an entire thesis on just using Broom,
okay.
so I'll try not to do that.
In the interest of time, we'll gloss over the interesting Chef uses. But
So basically,
yep.
Because of the way Broom works, if the opponent takes forward, you can do Broom Ride, and it will hit behind you. So you can make it as a crosser or an uncrosser. It also has some weird properties where if you broom right into the corner on some certain situations, you can actually put yourself into the corner. So if they neutral wake up, you're in the corner. That's also a crosser.
Like that, it can hit backwards. But yeah, it's got a bit of a hitbox, I guess, on Marisa or behind her, so you can cross them up. And yeah, if they try to punish you, there's a lot. I remember versing Chef a lot, especially when I wasn't used to his antics. You would get punished for trying to punish the missed broom ride, as they repeatedly rammed headfirst into the corner in a seemingly strange ritual of some sort.
Yeah. It turns out that if you get a counter hit broom ride and it sends the opponent backwards into the other corner, you can come into Gravity Beat.
Oh, I know you've done Master Spark as well, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's I mean, not sure how. Let's see, there it is. Oh no, that didn't work. It needs to be a bit higher, I think. They'd probably need to be airborne for that to work. But yeah, it's definitely got potential to combo off a backwards hit, especially if they're in the air. So yeah, definitely some interesting uses for this card. Yeah, so I would say it's a bit of a staple in Marisa's pressure. A huge return on hit if you level it. And at level, I believe 3 or 2? 2, it becomes faster. Is that right, Stooge?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
so,
by 3 frames.
Okay, so that makes it more effective as a kind of, I guess, graze catch, and also a bit more unexpected if you ram into them in neutral using it. So yeah, I would say a very important card for Marisa's kit. Also pretty useful in some combos as a high damage finisher. So yeah, what do we think in terms of tier? I'd say personally being vital to Marisa's kit, but unfortunately not being able to catch BE. I would say it's A tier. I would normally put a skill like this at B tier, but I think the damage kind of puts it a grade above other non-BE catching melees.
So it's cancelable on block at level 1, did you say?
Yes, and at level 1 on miss or whiff, it can cancel to anything, making it a decent approach tool even. But as on block, you can cancel it into a skill, but there's a long gap before you can cancel it. So all it's gonna do is make it, well, unless you've got some rare spacing situations, all it's gonna do is make their punish less damaging than if it were to be level 1, since they have to get an air punish.
Unless if the opponent is not 100% familiar with how to approach that situation, they could end up getting counter hit if you do a
That's right. If they hesitate and they're not sure what they're doing, you can definitely catch them off guard and do like a counter their punish with another 2-on-4 into big damage. That's a bit of a gimmick, I guess is the word, but definitely something that happens.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me as well.
Yeah, there
at
you
the
go.
beginning.
But I think the
I think it
main
still does.
advantage of level 1 is that on miss you can, cancel into things and get out of there quite safely.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd say A tier to start off with. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think that's a
How
good
about you,
start.
Jeff?
For standard Marisa players, yes, it'll be A tier, I agree. If
think
you're me,
Chef has
it's
a-
S tier.
Bit of an attachment to this card. So yeah, okay, we'll start with that in A tier. Next we've got a bit of a rare card. Not unseen though. So Radial Strike. Personally, I'd say it's not a bad card in itself. It gives Marisa a threat diagonally above her that's quite quick in neutral, so you can kind of, if an opponent's hanging around mid-air at longer ranges, you can hit them out of the air with it. Also air to ground, it can shoot diagonal down, which can be useful due to the fast travel speed. It's got a recoil that can make it reasonably safe to throw out, and of course being a bullet you can cancel it into movements anyway. The main caveat of it though is that you lose the default 214, so your pressure takes a bit of a hit. Chef, I know you've used this reasonably often. Is that kind of in line with your view?
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward card. I don't think there's much else to say about it, Chef. Is that your view?
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward
Yeah,
in
okay.
comparison to Broom Run. However, there is one situation that occurs a lot which can be useful,
Okay.
is a blocked 6/6A situation.
Okay.
Yeah, the Radial Strike is fairly good in that situation because it's like the opposite of default, where you can mix up,
Right. Yeah, I see.
where you can basically try to play the 50-50 game of where the opponent will try to poke
Mhm.
or will block. In this situation with the Radial Strike, they'll try to dash into you, predicting the Radial Strike, or they will block,
Okay, I
attempting
see.
to predict your poke.
Yeah, so it's similar to use to her 236, I guess, but I'll test it out now, but I can kind of picture the recoil helping it out a bit, making it harder to punish even if they get the read on you where they
Yes,
dash
because they have to
forward.
dash into you. That makes it a little bit more scary to go for the poke.
Right. So yeah, that's an interesting use. While it obviously loses out to another skill we'll mention in a bit for post-dash A situation, I think it does have something over default 236 in terms of the post-dash A situation, and I believe it combos and hit too. Yep, it does, which is nice. So yeah, I'd say it's not as good as default, but it's not bad by any means. Maybe B tier.
Yeah, it'd be low B, high C,
Low
depending on
B,
who you rank
okay.
everything else.
But we'll keep it in B for now to see what happens. But yeah, it's not a common card. Understandably, it's one of those cards where what you lose to equip it is the biggest kind of caveat to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have a Upsweeper. So this card makes Marisa spin, and she throws herself into D tier with it.
Oh, God, this card.
Are
I think
we
there's
all?
one use in Upsweeper. It's the if you find someone who doesn't know what it is, then they'll ask you what's Upsweeper. And you say not much.
That's me. That's
You
me.
can say-
I don't know what Upsweeper is, but I see it.
You can say that it makes Marisa spin. That's there's a Twitter bot that tweets some Japanese quotes related to the game. One of them is, "It just makes her spin," and it's clearly associated to Upsweeper.
Power.
So yeah, it's cool in combo videos. But yeah,
That's a lot of Marisa cards, actually.
Yeah, so Klempfer, would you like to give a quick demonstration?
yeah, I'll
just
use
to
it
make
here.
sure-
So it's a
Yeah.
bullet, so they can graze it. It's punishable on graze because for some reason Marisa can't movement cancel it. So
It's a bullet that doesn't interact
it
as well.
acts like a melee, but it's a bullet. So it's got all the caveats of being a melee, but it can be grazed. So it is air usable, but so is default 214. So it's basically default 214 that hits around Marisa, but loses all the advantages of default 214 that comes with it being a melee.
I'm
So-
surprised Marisa doesn't get dizzy from spinning that
I
quickly.
think she does. But it lets you go into some cool spell card combos. Yay. If you can hit with it, which is, I mean... Oh, you can't even go into Surefire. Okay, I was gonna say if it goes into Surefire of Dash A, might have been something. But
Oh, there's that.
unfortunately not. You can go into Dragon Meteor though. Takes a lot of the damage off though because it's a skill into spell. Okay, so yep, no questions here. I think we're all happy to put that into D.
Yeah.
Yep, D tier done.
Okay, so next we're going on to a 2/2s. Next is a Ground Stardust. So this is a default 2/2. I don't think there's much reason to level it. I know it gets bigger with levels. Not sure, Chef, if you found much use out of that.
From my testing, I haven't found much use for that.
Okay.
So level 0 is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I do notice in Sprinkle whenever I do play with Marisa that at mid-range, it kind of... the bigger size does help kind of seal off a bit of the screen, since it is a delayed bullet like this. But the big caveat is like a few other... what was it? Like the 4-cost bomb, the hitbox goes away if they graze it for 1 frame. So you kind of need to place it in a position where they're not going to graze it at all, or it's not going to really help you out. But I think this use can be done at level 1 too. So there's not too much reason to level it, I think. Otherwise, yeah, it's a fairly useful card. It's a bit of an advanced use, but the most advanced thing I can think of for it is that it lets Marisa combo off air guard crushes when she has no movements left. Like this. Oh, sorry. Like that. And then you can land into a full limit. Which is actually a pretty useful thing. Otherwise, yeah, in neutral it's good. You can use it for Blazing Star cross-ups. You can snipe people with it. You can aim its direction. It doesn't interact until it explodes, so it goes past their bullet cover. You can surprise them with it from the air, and you can come down with it too. It's a decent card. Not much reason to run it, and it doesn't kind of stand out that much, but it does its work, you know, kind of without standing out too much is how I'd say it is. In terms of tier, what do you guys think we should put it at?
C tier? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not costing anything, and the other 2/2s aren't really like star cards either. So in terms of being reasonably useful without really making you sacrifice anything for it, I'd say that has a merit of its own, and I'd put it as maybe low B tier, but not sure what your thoughts are on like benefits of cards like that.
Yeah, I think if you had to run it, then probably C tier.
Yeah.
But because it's a default skill, I think it would go up to maybe B, yeah.
Okay. And I think, you know, it's a bit hard to say it's a huge use, but the big size and Sprinkle, even if you don't run the card, which I wouldn't recommend, is you know, reasonably noticeable. Oh, it also gives Marisa Corner Rocky 1 spirit damage, which is nice. So actually it is a bit of a workhorse. B tier. Okay. Because yeah, her 2C, which is the usual Oki bullet, if you're point blank in corner, won't reach. Okay.
I kind of disagree with everyone. I actually would put this in low A myself.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. Any different reason, or it's just your kind of view of what we said?
There's two very distinct reasons. So the first reason is that because of the way it stops Marisa in the air, it's an air stall. Combining that with a J2A shenanigans and a broom ride, it's really obnoxious to wait for her on the ground.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the second reason is if you do this in corner pressure, the opponent is likely to jump out.
I see.
And then you can catch them.
That's interesting. It does have a mix-up use in pressure for sure, especially because you can do 5C into it, so they won't be able to act as quickly as they'd want to if they block 5C and then you do a 2/2. I believe. So it definitely encourages them to move. So I think on block, because of the delay, it's plus. Yeah, it's very plus for Marisa on block if they block it. And being air usable too kind of gives Marisa an extra mix-up option in the air. Even if you leave it uncancelled, it's actually pretty quick to J5A out of. So yeah, Chef makes a good point. It's a bit of a card that doesn't stand out much, but like I said, a workhorse card. I think that might even put it at low A because I would say it's better than Radial Strike for sure. So, okay, are we all happy to put it in low A then?
You've convinced me.
Yeah, Chef has sold ground Stardust to us. Good job, Chef.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Okay, next is a Devil Dom Torch. So this one's a bit of a strange card. I usually don't like this kind of card where it's the main use is in neutral, where you just throw it out and they basically trip on it. So, but the thing is, it's got this nice recoil on it. Marisa kind of bounces back as she throws it, like with her J2B, and it doesn't interact until it hits the ground. So it actually has a pretty... If you mix up your neutral well enough, I would say it's got a reasonable chance of just pulling its weight as basically a snipe in neutral, and a card that you'd run almost purely for that. So the only caveat is it's not air usable at level 1. You need to get it to 2.
That's the big killer.
Yeah, that's the big
If this was
caveat.
air usable at 1, it would be so
pretty good.
I'd
Yeah,
actually use this. As default.
there you go. But one nice thing about it does hit really hard for a snipe, especially at higher levels. So let's see, level 3. Yeah, 2k off a snipe is pretty potent.
Can he tech out of that? I don't think he can, from what I recall.
Let's see.
I think it's an actual knockdown. If it's
Oh wow, yeah. Seems to be a knockdown, at least off partial hit. No, even off full hit, it is a complete knockdown.
Yeah, that's why.
Which
it's so
means
good.
you'd be able to go into Luminous Strike off it on reaction even. Let's see. Oh, I was a bit late on that one, and they were a bit too far. But in the situation where you'd lose it, like you use it like you're coming down and you feint out your approach, definitely possible to combo for 3k. So yeah, knockdown on hit and potential spell card combos. Dragon Meteor would work too. So yeah, I did a bit early, but I'd say it's reactable. So that's nice. The big caveat is that it needs to be level 2 though, and you lose default. So yeah, I'd say, would you say it's better than default, Chef? Considering that you do need to run it, so minus some points for that.
I want to say it's better than the default. I'd say that they do 2 different roles, and they're both good, equally good for those separate roles. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, I'd say it would be high B if we were to account for the fact that you need to run at least
the level
2.
2 thing is so much.
Compared to level 0 default, which does all the work at level 0. So yeah, there you go. I think high B is a pretty fair spot for it. It might not seem like much just being used as a snipe, but it is the kind of snipe that hits a lot, and when it hits, it does a lot of work. So
have you seen the range of the C version as well?
Yeah, it covers a huge amount of the screen actually. Right. So yeah, it's pretty potent and not the kind of skill I usually like to run. I like things that help in pressure more, have some kind of very solid, use that you can plan for. But even if you were to bank on the opponent messing up and getting hit by this, or even just feigning out your approach, I think it hits hard enough and is effective enough to be worthwhile. So yeah, high B tier. Okay. Let's move on to the next one, a Bouncing Bomb. So I think Chef's the only one qualified to really talk about this one. What are your thoughts on this, Chef?
Best card in the game.
Best card in the game. 11 out of 10. So I'm not sure if you remember the spell version we talked about, but this is basically the skill version of that. So while it doesn't do a huge unblockable explosion that does 4,000 damage, it does a pretty decently active explosion
and uninteractable by the opponent.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Uninteractable explosion that does 2 orbs on block. So if you can combine this into your pressure somehow with an extremely high intelligence positioning and pressure, it actually is 2 orb block bullet is incredibly strong. There's almost nothing like it in the game. So I'd say, yeah, you just need to make sure you don't get caught in the blast, because it can hit Marisa as well. So I've seen a very strong player in Japan experimenting with it for Oki, using it in conjunction with her spell cards that have invincibility. For example, Master Spark.
Yep.
So you can actually use Master Spark's invincibility to avoid the blast while also taking that 2 orb damage from this 2/2. So I'd say the biggest caveat for this one is that it's hard to use until level 2, because that's when it's air usable. making its Oki use much more apparently effective from what I heard. As also in neutral, it's much more versatile if you can use it in the air. And also the fact that it hits Marisa and it's very unpredictable, I think probably work against it. Not sure what I mean. This probably is. I know Kookie, you've probably faced it before. Stooge, you probably haven't. Based on what you've heard, what do you think?
Well, I've dealt with it before,
Mhm.
like maybe a few times.
Yep.
It's I don't remember. Can you hang on? If you're the opponent, can you actually hit the bomb?
No,
so that
it's
it
Marisa
bounces?
only.
Marisa only. Okay, so yeah, pretty troublesome if I remember correctly. I've had to like rely on staying in the air if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the thing is, because they go off on a timer, even if you start pressuring Marisa, depending on where it ends up, she can basically attack you while blocking.
Yeah.
So, and also because of the way the screen zooms in when you're close, it can go off screen. And then
Yeah.
because it's not a screen edge bounce like a lot of other bouncing moves, but a stage bounce, it's very hard to track sometimes, and she can put out like 2 at once. So, yeah, it's a very unpredictable card. Not sure if I'm willing to call it strong, but definitely a wild card.
I need to see it more often. I need to play against it more often to really conclusively
You'd
say.
have to find Chef to get him to use it against you. But yeah, so in terms of tier, I'd say just in terms of reliability, because it hits Marisa too, it probably falls behind the other 2 twos. What do we think about that?
I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking yourself and Stooge probably don't have too much to say about that one.
Yeah, I can't say. I mean, I do like the gimmick of being able to damage yourself.
you can kill yourself with it if you want. Not sure if that's good or bad.
Yeah, I've had that happen quite
Happens a lot. Yep. So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting. I can see it being strong, but you need to really study it to be able to get a grasp of where it is at all times to be able to integrate it into your play. I mean, it's got the potential to be probably A tier, I think, just because there's 2 orbs on block. But also, there's probably a lot of randomness associated with it. So I think that holds it back and puts it at B tier. And also, it needs to be level 2 to be versatile with its air usability. So would you say it's better than Devil Dom or worse, Chef? I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say it's better.
Of course it's better.
I kind of agree. I'd say it's high B then. I like it just because I've seen Chef use it a lot, and I actually think it's got a huge amount of potential. That's very hard to master, but it's there, so I'm not gonna ignore it. Okay. Next is well, I forgot what this one's called, but her default 236. Stooge, do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, Meteoric Debris.
Oh, Meteoric Debris. What's her one cost called? Meteor Sonic Debris.
Her one costs, I'll scroll down, Meteoric Shower.
Oh, Meteoric Shower, okay. So this is Meteoric Debris. I mean, it's a nice 236 that's there by default. It's got some pressure use. It's got a combo use. Even, what are your thoughts on it, Chef, as a neutral move? Because they're all B1, so it can actually erase like a what?
Okay, so in neutral, the matchups that I've used specifically is against Yukari, because if you time it just right, it will cancel out every single Yukari C bullet.
Ah, okay. So yeah, the spread of the stars and each one being a B1 density means that against like Yukari's 5C, it will do a pretty good job at erasing them all. So yeah, that's a nice use. It's a bit hard to use in neutral since you can't really follow them like your 5C, but it's higher density overall, and you know, it's got combo use. Like after dash C, you can dash A, you can combo into it, and there's a slightly RNG dependent corner combo, which like that it can fail because of each star has different proration on it, the color. But I mean, it's pretty strong in combos. In pressure, well, it's after dash A, it's kind of a pressure mix-up. But yeah, it's nice to have. I wouldn't say it's like incredibly useful, but it's yeah, I'd say it's pretty versatile. It's there by default. You don't need to level it, but if you do level it, it helps your post dash A situation. by giving you a Master Spark confirm off a dash A hit. So dash A 236B, sorry, 236B into Master Spark will give you the extra combo at level 1. But otherwise, there's probably not much reason to run it. Yeah, so I'd say judging it as a level 0 card, what do you think, Chef?
I'd say it actually has a bit more use than is being discussed.
Okay.
So think about it like this. In the situations where you want to challenge with a broom ride, but don't want to actually commit to that risk, you use 236.
Ah, okay. So what's the... Is that because I guess it keeps you in place and fires high density bullets in front of you and they'd expect you to high jump away or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's I guess a bullet follow-up after a bullet as a skill has merits on its own, since you can cancel, your C bullets into it. That's definitely something Chef's mentioned, and like her 6C, here's another thing. It's very active. The hitboxes come out over a long time. So if they try to graze into you and hit you, they need to keep that graze going for longer. Similar to a 6C. So yeah, I do think it's a pretty versatile skill. Nothing incredible, but also you don't need to run any cards for it, similar to a 2-2. So yeah, what tier would we say? I'm willing to say it's like probably low A or high B. What are our thoughts?
I would go high B just to B, because that's exactly the same spot as the 1 cost.
I see.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with the high B as well.
Okay.
Because in terms of the situation that I just discussed, you're trying to turn a 50-50 into a rock, paper, scissors.
I see, yep.
Because it provides a third option.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's added variety to your pressure situations, I guess, and kind of... the combo use isn't that great, but it's there, and I mean, if you do get them to block it, it does a decent amount.
Actually, the combo use in the corner specifically is very good.
Okay.
And more specific off of 6-6A.
Ah, yeah, I see. You can combo into a
You can
jump
actually get
A.
the full combo into a limit, yes.
Yeah, there it is. 3 point... Oh, it's high level, but it gives you around 3k damage, which is really nice compared to our other options there.
Or, instead of doing the finisher J2A, you can 5C, land cancel to gravity beat.
Okay. That's a cool combo from Chef there.
It's a very cool combo, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely useful. I think the high B is pretty justified, so we'll go with that. Okay, next 236 out is Narrow Spark. So I used to love this card. I still like it. I know it's not everyone's favorite card. It's got a lot of negative reputation. But my case for it is that it gives you even more of a horizontal threat in neutral, since you can follow up your 6C with it, and it also combos off J6C. You can do a sweeping Narrow Spark by doing downwards momentum, and if it's land cancelled, the caveat it has of not being movement cancelable is kind of not a factor.
One of the big questions that I have is, what's the difference between Narrow Spark and 6C?
So Narrow Spark is bigger than 6C and a skill and can't be movement cancelled. That's pretty much it.
More damage.
Wait, so...
And the startup's slightly longer as well, if I recall.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it does. It hits more, it travels quicker at full screen, and it is longer as well, I think. Oh, they're about the same. No, it is a bit longer, yeah, it is a bit
3
longer.
frames longer.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that it hits more, because it travels faster than 6C, it hits fully at full screen even, while 6C only hits partially at full screen. Okay, I mean, the big caveat is you can't really use the grounded one in neutral because you can't high jump cancel it until the very end. In the air, it's pretty good since it kind of covers you, especially at long range, with its big hitbox, and if you land cancel, it's not a problem either. I think the biggest thing is that it gives you a laser off 6C, which is kind of nice, but yeah, it's pretty mediocre is how I'd put it. What do we think of its tier? I'd put it lower than the debris one.
I'll have to take your word for it, Klempf, because I've never seen it before.
I do like how it combos though.
Well, if you played an older version of this game,
oh yeah, it used to be
6C
really
into Narrow
strong.
Spark was actually a legitimate thing. It was actually really strong pressure.
And both of them were a lot stronger in 10.5.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, they got a mysterious nerf in 12.3. 60 is still a very powerful move, but a Narrow Spark took a bit of a hit, I think.
I mean,
I wonder why.
The classic combo was 60 Narrow Spark to Master Spark. That was the holy combo.
Yeah, it doesn't hit very hard in 12.3, but it sounds... 60 Narrow Spark doesn't hit on grounded opponents anymore unless you're point blank. That's the problem.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Used to do that in 10.5.
If you're point blank, you can, but let's... Oh, okay, you really need to be point blank. That's a shame. Yeah, so I'd say it's probably like... It's not terrible, but it's not good, and you lose out your default, so I'd probably put it in C. Is that...
Yeah, I'll put it in C as well, because if you miss with this thing, oh boy.
That's true. They're gonna end up in your face and you don't get a skill cancel. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So
so...
I have a Luminous on hand.
Oh yeah, you could spell cancel, that's right. Okay, so... Now, the last 236, I know very little about this one, so we're going to take your word for it, Chef. Green spread. What are your thoughts on this one?
You better love land cancelling a lot to use this.
Okay. So I guess if you land cancel it, you can get rid of the... I guess the main thing is that it puts a hitbox with a delay, but to take advantage of that hitbox effectively, you probably want to land cancel it so you can act quickly. I see. Yeah, so it does give you a simultaneous melee bullet attack if you land cancel. And to an extent, it gives you that in the air as well if you just use it normally, but not as good. I mean, it doesn't look too amazing.
Well, the main thing about it is that it's mostly not interactive. The main bullet isn't, if I recall, but like the surrounding stars you can cancel.
So it gives you a kind of a uninteractive threat in neutral, it seems. At a range
it's really hard to land cancel this thing.
But yeah, I can see it being... It's pretty unique to Marisa. Yeah, that goes quite far.
The C version is insane in neutral, if you can land cancel.
Actually, yeah, yeah, and this is level 1. It's pretty good, actually. Let's see what it's like at max. Actually, I think I can see this working. Yeah, it lasts longer at max.
It actually is a fairly good thing. The problem is that you have to land cancel it. If you don't land cancel it, it's so not
Yeah, I see. And the high jump window is really slow, so you don't want to use the ground one.
It's like a quick version of Yuko 6C, and it spreads out, but it doesn't last very long.
Yeah, it doesn't have that lasting power of Yuko, but you can position it a lot further ahead, though it doesn't harm. But yeah, it's a skill, which is a caveat as well, and it doesn't have the pressure use of Yuko 6C. But I mean, yeah, I feel like it gives a bit of a unique kit to Marisa that she otherwise doesn't get. A lingering bullet, unless you're on Stellar Missile. I mean, yeah, it's very unused. I've very rarely seen it used. A chef brought it out in a tournament once. But, I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just that I think default's nice and people
default's just so much easier to use.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to use. I'd say it's probably low A, low... I'd say it's better than Radial. I'd probably put it at mid B. Because Radial, you lose a ley line, which is really big loss. Well, losing default's bad, but not the end of the world. And I think this also does more than Radial Strike, based on what I've seen.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, so yeah, we'll put it at mid B. Okay, we're on our last batch of skills now. So this is as simple as it gets.
The most important one.
The most important one. It's a 623 default DP.
Is it gonna be
DP?
So as you can see, she becomes invincible at level 1+ if you use it on frame 1. So like as you'd expect a DP to do, you can use it to go through their melee attacks and counter attack them. The C version, while not invincible, grazes from frame 1, even at level 0. So you can go through their bullets to hit them, and it has good vertical reach too. And the C version spell cancelable, so you've got some nice combos with it. And you can even make it safe with Luminous Strike. So there you go.
Or a bomb.
Or a bomb. So yeah, so it's like kind of a staple for Marisa. I feel like a lot of Marisas swear by it. The main thing is you can't leave it at level 0 really, like her other default skills. It gains a huge amount at level 1 because that's when it becomes invincible. The thing is though, while it does hit hard, especially on counter hit, 2.2k on counter hit level max is one of the harder hitting DPs in the game. The big problems it has is with its invincibility. first of all. The invincibility runs out on the frame that the hitbox comes out, from what I recall.
Yes.
So that means you're gonna actually get a lot of trades with it, which isn't the end of the world, but if you're on like 1 health, it's actually it can mean that it's very you don't want to use it there because the risk is too big. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely a downside you've got to consider. It kind of does hit pretty hard, so it's got that going for it. But the second downside that I've heard Chef mention a lot is that the air tech time on it is really short.
Yeah.
So you actually don't get put in a very advantageous situation. You recover at about the same time as the opponent, but they're above you. So positionally, you actually are at a bit of a disadvantage even if you land it on a non-counter hit. So it's it gives you the option of hitting them out of pressure that otherwise you can't, which is great, but it also has a lot of caveats. It makes up for it a bit with the damage, but it's not as good as Yorma's or Remilia's is I think a good point to make. So yeah. Oh, but one thing it does have going for is the active frames. They can run into you quite easily. So yeah, what do you think, Chef? I mean, it's a DP, which is worth a lot on its own, and it's fast at like 12 frames, 13 frames. Stooge, do you have that info?
13, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a average DP startup. Good damage, good hitbox, poor invincibility, but it's there, and post-hit situation isn't great. So what do you think, Chef?
Actually, I want to refer to Kookie first because they also have a lot of experience with using reversals.
Right. Kookie, you're the reversal expert. What are your thoughts on based on what you've heard? The post-hit situation isn't that good. How would you feel if you're? Well, I guess you don't have a skill DP that you use, but if a DP didn't give you advantage on hit situationally, would that be a big problem for you?
Wait, sorry. Can you slow down on that one?
Okay, so if a DP, when you hit it, they can air tech quite quickly after it, about the same time that you recover. So situationally, it doesn't give you much of an advantage.
No, it doesn't.
But it does damage them, and it gives you the option to hit out of pressure that otherwise you wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts based on this information, I guess?
That's hard.
I mean, your frame of reference would be a spell card, so it is a 623, meaning you can use it whenever.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the main thing would be how important do you think DPs are on defense? That's probably something you can have.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I had to deal with DPs in defense, as a UU player who has 623 fan spin, if I was playing against Sakuya, if she does a 6-8 and I read it, I can just do 623.
That's
it comes out
4 DP. That's right.
Yep. Okay, that's good. That works. What else? Apparently, you guys like to call the full cost reversal a DP. So yeah.
Yep. That's it. So how important do you think having a move like that is on defense?
Well, if you got it, then you shouldn't overly rely on it. But if you got it, you should think about using it.
It opens up a lot of kind of options, right? Because they start baiting it too, which in turn weakens their defense.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you got it, then think about using it, and don't forget about it, like me. So yeah,
I think I think having a DP means that like in situations where you're minus on block, you can basically ignore that and force them to respect you if you threaten it, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Stooge is unfortunately playing a character who has no DP.
Yeah.
It's a bit tragic, Komachi. But yeah, so I'd say, I mean, it opens up a lot of options on defense, which is nice, even if it is a bit unreliable. I would say it's like a low A. If it had invincibility that lasted longer and the air tech situation was better, I would put it as S even, as a must run. But I think because it's a bit unreliable, it's got some stiff competition, which is why I put it at maybe low, mid A. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's understandable. If it was a bit more reliable than what it was, then I would have instantly gone S tier.
Yeah, I see. Chef, I know you don't like its unreliability. What would you put it as?
Okay, so within Marisa's own toolkit, I think it's an A because it's a DP. Of course, it's great. However, when you compare it to other characters' DPs, it really falls short.
I mean, okay, let's say we put Yoma's and Remy's at S, like top S. Would it be low A or would it be even lower?
It'd be low A, yeah.
Okay, low A. Yeah, because I would personally, like, we're not up to them yet, but I'd say those DPs are great. Yoma's not just for the DP aspect, and they'd easily be peak S skill cards. So, yeah, I mean, we could put this as low A. I think that should be fine. It is strong, gives you access to the, DP mix-up, even if it is unreliable. The biggest caveat I think that comes from that is that if you're on pixel health, it's not going to help you.
No.
Yeah.
And it's risky.
Yeah, in the post-DP situation, you're not... Like, sometimes Yomas can knock down, but this one won't. And you're not even that advantaged, which is a shame.
Yeah. So usually what ends up happening in that situation where you get the DP and they tech out and they're going to fly down towards you, you have two options. You either dash under them to get out the way, two, DP again.
That's right.
And then you end up back in the exact same situation.
I mean, it's a negative in a sense that they could air take and act quickly, but it also opens the room for you to DP them again. It's probably happened to everyone who's played a Marisa who's willing to take risks, the DP into DP.
Yeah, because if you do it once, they're not going to expect it
Yeah,
twice.
Exactly. So I mean, it's it's not all bad. So with that in mind, I'd say low A is a pretty fair position, and it does hit hard, which is nice. So yeah, and of course it has combo use as well. In corner especially, you can do a
C version.
Yeah, C version into gravity beat, which is a nice combo.
Or Dragon Meteor as well.
Your Dragon Meteor, that's right. So yeah, pretty nice card. Okay, next one is a personal favorite of mine, a Bosky
Is that
Sweeper.
Mimasa? Oh no, it's Bosky, yeah.
Miasma Sweep's the default. Bosky Sweeper, so this one is not a DP. Apparently it used to graze, but it now does not graze either.
Correct.
So this one's purely a pressure and combo card, but it is really good at both of those. So in combos, the most universal use is it gives you a combo of dash A that limits and hits pretty hard. And also against short characters, it gives Marisa a very reliable limit combo in mid-screen, which otherwise she doesn't have. And the main thing that I would run it for is that it gives you really good pressure options of dash A. So in short, it completely, I guess, super outdoes default 236 in the post dash A situation. The reason for that is that it is a bullet like default 236, and so it will beat them poking after dash A. But unlike default 236, if they graze to try to punish you after reading it, they won't get the punish. The distance it creates from Marisa flying so far up means that outside of extremely rare situations, they're not going to be able to get a punish, and you'll be able to go back to neutral. So that alone is really strong. But another thing is that this is the same as 236. If the DA did hit, it's going to give you a combo, but that combo is much more potent than default 236s. So in short, I'd say it's like a super default 236 in pressure, and also it has even better combo use, which really kind of gives consistency to Marisa's post-dash A situation. Chef, I know you've used it a decent amount. Is that kind of in line with your view?
For the most part, yeah, except I use it in a very different way.
Okay. It's what's this use of it that you have?
I mean, for anyone that has watched me in the tournaments, I use it in a deck with the DP.
That's
so I
right.
run both 63s.
So this is an interesting card, kind of input from Marisa, because both these 623s are perfectly, like basically at full potential at level 1, which opens up the possibility for her to actually run both of these. Because a big caveat of running skills on the same input is that they reset to level 1 whenever you swap between them. But that doesn't matter for both of these, since at level 1 they're basically as good as they get. So Chef can throw the opponent off by making them not really aware of when he has a DP or not, since in a match it's hard to keep track, especially of the opponent's skills. And also can kind of give a bit of a strange mix-up to the post-dash A situation, whether they're not sure if you have a DP or this 623. So yeah, not sure how much of a common use that is, but definitely something to consider. So I'd say based on all these situations, it would be a high A, mid A. What do we? I'd prefer it to Miasma. I don't know about you, Chef. Do you prefer one over the other?
I mean, the problem is that DP is a DP.
That's true. DP is a DP, and I think for a player like Chef who relies on mind games a lot and taking kind of gambles a lot more than a player like me, you'd have a natural bias towards the DP.
Just a little bit.
I prefer taking safer escapes, but I definitely, especially as of late, have seen that DP can get you out of situations that nothing else can, like after a wrong block. So I definitely see the merit in a DP. I think if you want consistency, you go for Bosky. If you want, more of a wild card and focus on mind games, Miasma is for you.
Well, there's also some specific matchups where DP is kind of
yes,
nice
you
to
make
have,
a good
like,
point.
against Sakia setups. That's nice to have
That's
DP.
true. And you want escape velocity there. And against Alice as well, the DP is not going to help much.
I mean, even if you could trade with a killing door, just getting out of the situation of not getting guard crushed.
That's true, actually. The
fine.
DP is vital because, yeah, the trade is actually good for you because Sakuya used 2 cards to basically trade equal damage for no knockdown. So that's definitely a good point Chef has. So I guess it depends on matchup and your style of play, but I'm finding it hard to say one's better than the other. Okay, but I'm gonna put Bosky above Miasma because there is a tweet from the quote bot that says, "The moment I swapped out Miasma for Bosky, my rate, which is like yellow, went up by 200. So Miasma Sweep is a trader."
Power.
But yeah, I'd say they're roughly equal. Okay.
I'll have to take your word for it, Klempf. I don't understand Bosky. I need to see it more.
Okay. So the final card for this tier list is Stellar Missile. So this is a pretty uncommon card. I feel like I've almost never faced it in a match. I know it's good against Suako. That's about it.
The Suako killer, yeah.
Do you know much more about it, Chef? Other than that it kills Suako?
I mean, okay, in terms of, well, it's an uninteractable projectiles. That's very
okay, that's pretty good. Yep.
And it's you can present it at 2 different angles.
Mm-hmm.
So the B version is more closer to you, and the
yep,
C version is
right.
like a very far away.
So you
the
get
C version
to pick.
can be used to
Mhm.
snipe people. B version is like an anti-air projectile.
Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, it's I think at low levels it doesn't last very long, so it's a bit hard to take advantage
Size
of.
also changes. on
Okay, and
level
it's
too.
pretty small. Do you know what level it increases what, Stooge?
I think it's 2 and 4.
3 and 4.
3 and 4. So
According
it's,
to the wiki.
it's 3 size and 4 duration, or is it the other way around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at level 3 it becomes big. Yeah, that's a notable increase. And at level
It should
4...
hit grounded opponents, if I recall.
Maybe Iku? It's missing Sanaya though, for sure, so... Or maybe the B version? Oh, yeah, maybe. Against, like, Iku. But yeah, it's you'd need to be a very tall character if it hits at all. But yeah, level max, the duration is increased, it looks like. So, yeah, uninteractive means that you can seal off that part of the air. And it's always going to go off there, which is nice. And Marisa is quick enough to kind of take advantage of it. It kills Suako because she has horrible mobility. Maybe good against Utsuwa as well. But yeah, it's a bit of a niche card. Probably her least common 623. I can definitely see it being useful though. So yeah, what do we think, Chef, in terms of tier for this?
I mean, it kills Suwako, so that's good enough.
S tier, it gets rid of the cursed Suwako. Yeah, okay, I can see that it's probably not as good as either of the 623s. And you also have to consider that you lose those 623s when you run it. So I'd say it's probably... I mean, I actually think it's probably similar to Green Spread in effectiveness. Maybe a bit better, just because it seems to last longer. And being able to shoot into the air like that is actually pretty rare. And I think could be quite useful.
The problem is it's on a 623. You can't really justify it unless it absolutely helps in the match.
Yeah, that's true. What you lose is really substantial. So in that sense, maybe it does belong below Green Spread.
Yeah, I think it actually belongs to C tier.
Oh, okay. Below Radial Strike. Okay.
Yeah. just because it's on a 623, that's like the
That's
biggest
true.
thing.
Well, with Radial Strike, you do lose big on the 214. I feel like not having either the DP or the consistency card that Bosky is pretty harmful. So unless you're against Suako, where it becomes S tier, I'd say it becomes C tier, above Narrow Spark. Okay.
I will give it. It makes for excellent combo video material with Monsoon.
Actually, on that topic, I do know that you can react to it hitting and go into basically any spell card like this. Ooh, 4.8k for Final Spark, and more interestingly, let me see if I can get a Surefire on hand. I do know that you can combo into Surefire off it. So, let's get that on screen. Oops, wrong one. So 623B, I see it hitting. Oh, that's a bit late, I think, yeah. But I do know that if you're prepared for it, you can go into Surefire, which is gonna deal a lot of damage, I believe. Yep, here we go. There it is. 5.8k, very substantial. So yeah, I mean that's something for it. It can go into spell cards on reaction, which is nice. But yeah, it's a hard sell considering what you lose to run it, and to get the most out of it, you need it at level 4, I guess, or level 3 at least. While the other 623s only need 1 card. So yeah, I think C is high C or low B, but we're going to put it in C. I think it's justified for this one. So yeah, we've got our final skill card list. Interestingly, no S tier skills for Marisa. Do we agree with this outcome?
I mean, what we could do is shift all the cards up 1 tier.
Well, I think let's think of what an S tier skill would be. Let's see. I would say Reimu, no, not Reimu. Yorma 623 is a S tier skill. Not only is it a really good DP that knocks down on hit, it combos off a 4A, 2A. It's a Graze move, which Marisa's is 2 actually, but it also reliably goes into a strongest spells. And it comboing a 4A, 2A on the ground means they go into the strongest spells. So easily S tier. Would we say any of Marisa's skills are that good?
Judging by what we've found so far, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. So let's think of another S tier skill. Tenshi. No, that's too situational. Tenshi.
Okay, Buster.
I think that was more like because we had buy. If we were to objectively look at it, I'd say it's A tier. We had a force within OCE telling us that was an S tier card.
True. That's true.
But I'd say, okay, Tenshi 623 maybe? I'd say that might be S. It catches BEs, allows you to knock down on hit, lets you go into spells in an airtight string, true BE catch, that's safe on block, so... Yeah, I think when we're looking at cards like that, if you compare it to Leyline, we're seeing the difference in power. I'd say it's probably right that there's no S tier one. Not to say Maria's got any problem. Upsweeper belongs in S, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd agree that, yeah. So, I think when we look at the cast as a whole, maybe Sakuya's close-up magic would be S tier. That's because it's a unique air usable frame 1 Graze, as well as a BE catch. Yeah, I think we're not seeing anything that's quite as much of a powerhouse. Not to say Marisa's got any problems. Her actual character as herself is really strong, and her spells are really strong. And her skills aren't any slouch either. You can see there's a lot in A and B, which is good. And a lot of her defaults are in A, which is really good actually. But yeah, just nothing that has that punch to put in an S. No absolute must-run card. That would probably be an S card.
Which probably actually is a good thing, because that means that there's more flexibility.
Yeah, that's true. It does give her the flexibility in her kit, since you're not completely required to run that one card. Yeah. Okay. So yep.
I did see you put Upsweeper in S tier, so I guess I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah, we're gonna see a boom in Upsweeper use.
Oh yeah, maybe if we see a boom in Upsweeper use, we will actually find something useful about it.
Actually, we have a comment here from 31589908. Spin isn't C tier. Do you mean it belongs in D tier, or are you saying it's better than C tier? Because that's if that's the case, that's a very interesting take. We'd like to hear what you think. But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty happy with what we've got here. Yeah, I think it's
Marisa is an honest character. No, not Chess. She's one of the dirtiest characters in this game.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that concludes our card tier list for Marisa. Brooklyn used upsweep for main swap Tony once. How did you find it, Brooklyn? Did it take rounds for you? Did it make the difference that you needed?
Brookie used upsweep for a main
Yes, I don't know if it helped him in the tournament much, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think we've got a pretty cool tier list from Marisa here for both her skills and spells. Obviously, her spells, she had two in S tier, which was a pretty good iconic duo of her spells. I think that's a testament to also how she has a lot of good spells with plenty sitting in A. We've got a request for Suikanest, so we could do that. Good flexibility in her skills as well, with only 3 being in C or D tier. And even the C tier ones are having decent cases for use. So yeah, a very flexible character. Can recommend if also to players starting out, since it lets you play around with the skills a lot, I think. So yeah, thanks for showing up, Chef. It was a really nice surprise to have you show on for the Marisa one.
Yeah, I just happened to be around at this time. So like,
yeah, we were really lucky then, because we had Cat for the Raven one, and we were thinking, would we be able to get someone for each character? And we were like, it might be hard because this one was on such short notice. So we're really glad that you could show up. Yeah, so
I'm not sure if we can get anyone for the Sakuya one.
Ooh, that would be a hard one. I'll have to see if we know any Sakuya players to give input on that one.
Yeah.
But
Klempfer doesn't count because he's from Jupiter.
No one in OCE. But so Chef, in case you didn't know, we've got and all the viewers, we've got an OCE tournament for 12.3 at the upcoming Vortex Gallery on the 25th of September at 7 p.m. AEST. It's got a prize pool.
Month.
Yeah, this month. It's got a prize pool of $50 for first place, I believe $25 for second place, and $15 for third. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, that's cool.
And I will be adding to that. That's the base one, kindly provided to us by Fiery. So thank you very much. I'll be adding to it. I think I'll add entry count stretch goals. That's probably what I'll do. And if anyone wants to, give it a go if they're in OC. We really want as many entrants as we can get because Vortex Gallery is basically the new EVO. So
what happened to EVO?
It died due to unfortunate circumstances.
Oh
yeah.
But it's been replaced by this Vortex Gallery, and we're really glad to be able to get a slot for the OCE Hisoutensoku community. So anyone in OC who's watching, make sure you sign up. And anyone not in OC, we'd really love to have you tune in and cheer on our players. So yeah, and Chef, if you're free, you're more than welcome to help commentate.
I guess we'll see.
We'll see. All right. So yeah, I think that's enough for now. We've got a very overtime.
Yes,
so,
but on the upside, we've gone through over a lot of detail on why we put the cards.
Yeah, we've got a lot of detail. I think I will definitely need to work on speeding up for future ones. we did gloss over a lot of Chef uses. We did miss out on some Chef insight on some of them, but we did manage to get a lot out of Chef, which I'm glad for. But in the interest of time, we had to gloss over, unfortunately, some things. I'm very glad we got to see a return of the YouTube clips, though. That was really good. We've got a comment on the international Discord that they're not happy that Stardust Reverie, which always knocks down, is worse than Ori's in one card. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Though I'm not sure if any combo that it works in would stop you from knocking down otherwise.
That's the other thing about Stardust, because it's like, you could add it onto the end of a combo, but dude, your limit is going to be so close to 100% most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it adds a bit of damage. I mean, we'd love to hear your thoughts, Thanoris. I know you've been playing Marisa for a long time, so let us know. But yeah, as of now, it's we're not seeing too much interest. 3158. If you want to contribute to the prize pool, just let us know in the OCE channel. If you're not in OCE, sorry, I don't know where you are, or if you're a player that we know. Sorry, your name I don't recognize. But if you are interested, just either direct message me. I'm Klempfer. You got my name there, or join us in the OCE Discord in the Hisoutensoku channel, and just give me a ping, and we can talk about that.
Should we give him a Discord invite in case he doesn't have it?
I mean, they can reach out to me on Discord, and I'm on Hisouten, which they would at least be on, I think. So, yeah, just reach out to me if you want to discuss about that. And yeah, any contribution. I mean, no one should feel obliged to contribute. So, it's really grateful if you could do that. It would definitely make the event more exciting for everyone. I'm also not entering, so yeah, it's fair game for everyone. Not sure if I should say that.
Man, we can see the mysterious Cherno man, maybe.
Finally.
Oh, it's some duck. Hello, some duck. Okay, in that case, yeah, let me know via DM, and we can sort that out. Yeah, if anyone wants to contribute, that would be a really great way to make the event bigger than it is. So, yeah, that would be very, very cool. Okay, I think with that, I'll say thanks everyone for watching, and thanks Kookie and Stooge and Giang for helping organize this and being on the stream, and a big thank you to Chef for popping up out of nowhere to help with this tier list, to provide a lot of the Marisa experience he has, which is like 12 years or more. So.
And let's not also forget to thank Klempfer for setting up the stream right here.
Okay.
And getting the tier list sorted too.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm doing is running the stream. It's Giang who sorted out the page here, and you guys giving a lot of the commentary. It would be very boring if it was just me. So, yeah, I'd love to. I, of course, really appreciate everyone's presence here and all the viewers as well. Thanks so much. So yeah, I think next we've got a request for Suika, so maybe we'll do Suika unless someone else has any requests.
Objection.
Objection.
Just kidding.
Alright, yeah, so with that, I think we'll finish the stream. Thank you everyone, and we'll see you in the next one, which hopefully won't be too long. And see you in Vortex, which is at the end of this month.
Yep, see you there.
See you there.
Bye-bye.